You are good.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight's meeting is Services and Environmental Policy. The Board of Alders notice New Haven, the City Services and Environmental Policy Committee of the Board of Alders will meet in person on Monday, July 15th, 2024 at 6:00 p.m. in the Board of Alders chamber located at 165 Church Street, second floor, New Haven, Connecticut, to hear and act on the following items. Number 1, LM-2024-0357, order of the Board of Alders designating the corner of Dixwell Avenue and Argyle Street as Dr. Ann E. Garrett Robinson Way in perpetuity for her love, commitment, great contributions and service to people in Dixwell community and statewide. Item 2, LM-2024-0354, order of the Board of Alders of the City of New Haven implementing overhead canopy lighting improvements on Orange Street between Center Street and Crown Street. Item 3-2024-0380, order of the New Haven Board of Alders authorizing the mayor, LCI executive director, or manager of neighborhood development to enter into a multi-year agreement with the Connecticut Association for the Performing Arts, DBA Schubert Theater, in the amount of $46,000.00. Services provided include a 3-year marketing and advertisement campaign for the Livable City Initiative programs for the period of June 1st, 2024 through December 30th, 2026. Item 4, LM-2024-0381, order of the New Haven Board of Alders authorizing the mayor, LCI executive director, or manager of neighborhood development to enter into a multi-year agreement with Barrett Outdoor Communications Incorporated in the amount of $67,600.00. Services include a 3-year digital billboard advertisement for the Livable City Initiative programs for the period of June 1st, 2024 through March 22nd, 2026. Number 5, LM-2024-0387, order of the Board of Alders of the City of New Haven implementing a bollard installation at 65 Broadway. Item 6, LM-2024-0388, order of the New Haven Board of Alders approving a license agreement for the installation of Yale University of a fire protection water pipe under Hillhouse Avenue from 46 to 37 Hillhouse Avenue. Item 7, LM-2024-0394, order of the New Haven Board of Alders authorizing the City Plan Department to enter into a 2-year multi-year contract with Fitzgerald and Halliday Incorporated, FHI, for the purpose of completing Vision 2034, the City of New Haven's Plan of Conservation and Development, also known as the Comprehensive Plan. Item 8, LM-2024-0409, order of the New Haven Board of Alders authorizing the mayor to apply for and accept the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency Community Change Grant to reduce pollution and build community strength, and to enter into associated agreements in order to accept grant funding and carry out the associated grant program activities. Per order, Honorable Anna M. Festa, Chair. Attest, Honorable Michael Smart, City Town Clerk. These items are on file and available in the Office of the City Clerk located at 200 Orange Street, Room 202, New Haven, Connecticut 06510. For accessibility-related accommodations, please call 203-946-7651V or 203-946-8582 TTY-TBD. Public comment testimony may also be submitted via email to publictestimony@newhavenct.gov before 2:00 p.m. on the day of the meeting. This meeting may be viewed on the New Haven Board of Alders YouTube page. Again, welcome. I am Anna Festa. I am the Alder in Ward 10 and the chair of the City Services and Environmental Policy Committee. At this time, I will allow my colleagues to introduce themselves, starting to my right.
Caroline Tomby-Smith, Ward 9.
Franklin Singh, Ward 5.
Alder Troy Streeter, Ward 21.
Thank you, colleagues, for being here tonight, and thank you all in the audience for being here. I don't think we've had a room full like this in a while. We have a long agenda, so we'll get going with it, but before I do so, just some housekeeping. One, please be sure to put your phones in silent mode or vibrate mode, please, so we can move smoothly through our agenda, because we do have a very long meeting tonight. And also, if anyone wishes to testify on any of the items that I read off this evening, there's a table to my right, your left, where you can sign up to testify. If you have not signed, don't worry, you will still have the opportunity to do so. I will call you up and give everyone an opportunity to speak, even if your name is not on the list. What am I missing? Anything? I do want to recognize a couple of individuals. We have Dr. Joyner that is here this evening, who serves on our Board of Ed, and we also have Michael Morand, who used to serve on this board a few years ago. So thank you for being here this evening. With that, we can begin with item number 1, which is the corner designation for Dr. Ann D. Garrett Robinson Way. And I'm going to ask my colleague, Alder Troy Streeter, to present the item. And while Alder Streeter is going to his seat, anyone wishing to testify, when you come forward, please state your name and address for the record before you give your testimony. Once you give your name and address, you could go on with your testimony, and I'll give these reminders as we go along, so don't worry. Okay, good evening.
Good evening. Troy Streeter, 428 Dixwell Avenue. Dear colleagues, today I stand before you to advocate for a truly deserving honor, the naming of the corner of Dixwell and Argyle as Dr. Ann E. Garrett Robinson Way. This is more than just a name on a street sign. It is a recognition of a life devoted to service, education, and community. Dr. Ann Garrett Robinson is a pillar of our community, a trailblazer who has dedicated her 89 years to making New Haven a better place for all its residents. Her journey began in academia, where she became the first Black woman to join the facility at Trinity College, one of the earliest Black women researchers at Yale, and the first Black certified psychology examiner in the New Haven public school system at Gateway Community College. She imparted knowledge and wisdom to thousands of students, many of whom remember her not just as a teacher, but as a mentor and a guide. Her contributions, however, extend far beyond the classroom. Dr. Robinson is a champion of local Black history, tirelessly working to ensure that the stories of those who built this community are remembered and honored. Her successful campaign to name the corner of Orange and Elm Street as Lucretia's Corner stands as a testament of her commitment to inclusively and historically recognition. This intuitive highlighted the presence and contributions of the first known Black residents of New Haven. Lucretia, dating back to the 17th century, in her personal life, Dr. Robinson and her family had been the epitome of good neighbors. Moving to Dixwell Avenue in 1970, they choose to stay and contribute to a neighborhood many were leaving. They have hosted cookouts, concerts, and Thanksgiving dinners for international students, fostering a sense of community and belonging. Dr. Robinson has watched over neighborhood children, offered a helping hand to those in need, and worked to instill a culture of care and mutual respect. Her impact is deeply felt by those who have the privilege to know her. The signatures we have gathered, more than the required 250, are not just names on a petition, they are voices of a community that Dr. Robinson has touched and inspired. They speak to the respect and admiration we hold for her and the desire to see her legacy honored in a way that is visible and enduring. Naming the corner of Dixwell and Argyle after Dr. Robinson is a fitting tribute. It would serve as a daily reminder of the values she embodies: dedication to education, commitment to community, and an unwavering pursuit of justice and equality. It will also provide Dr. Robinson with the honor of seeing her name in a place she has called home for decades, a place she has worked tirelessly to improve. In approving this designation, we not only honor an extraordinary individual, but also reaffirm our commitment to recognizing those who have contributed profoundly to our community. Let us give Dr. Ann Garrett Robinson her flowers while she can see and appreciate them, acknowledging her invaluable contributions to New Haven and ensuring her legacy is remembered for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Streeter. That was beautiful. At this time, we can ask questions, but Dr. Robinson has been before us with Lucretia
Yes,
corner naming, and she's an incredibly elegant, eloquent woman,
that she is.
and I'm happy to see her name as a corner naming. And you mentioned many of her accomplishments, which are to be recognized. And with that, I'll ask if any of my colleagues have questions for you before we take public testimony. Okay, you can come back to this then.
Thank you.
So how this will work is we have a list of names. We will call out the names that are on our list. And when you come forward, again, a reminder to state your name and address for the record. Once we go through the list, I will ask if there's any further testimony. And you can raise your hand and come forward. So with that, oh, you know what? I forgot we have somebody on Zoom. I'm so zoomed out that, my apologies. So we can actually start with, and with my glasses, I still can't see. Cordelia Lewis Burks.
Correct.
Good
We have
afternoon.
Cordelia Lewis Burks.
Good
via
afternoon.
Zoom, who
Am
will
I
also be
Am I
testifying.
muted or unmuted?
You are on mute.
Good afternoon to the members of the New Haven, Connecticut City Services and Environmental Policy Committee. I am Cordelia Lewis. Can you hear me?
Ms. Lewis Burks, hold on one
Yes.
second. I'm having some technical difficulty.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right. there we
Can
go.
you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening to the members of the City Services and Environmental Policy Committee of New Haven, Connecticut. I am Cordelia Lewis Burks of the city of Indianapolis, Indiana. I want to thank you for allowing me to join as you recognize my long and dear friend, Dr. Ann Robinson. Dr. Robinson, when she and her husband, Dr. Charles Robinson, left the city of Indianapolis, I grieved as many of our citizens did, because you never want to see citizens of their ilk leave your community. She has been a dear friend through the years. Whenever I had death in my family, she came back to Indianapolis to grieve with me. When I was recognized by Barack Obama as his superdelegate in the state of Indiana, I heard from Ann Robinson. When I was a member of the Democratic National Committee and vice chair of the Indiana Democratic Party, Dr. Robinson was there to applaud me. I never want to see citizens like Ann Robinson leave our community. As you recognize her, I want to thank you for allowing me to be with her this evening, because our loss was your gain. I know that Dr. Robinson will continue, as she always has, to serve the citizens of New Haven, Connecticut. I thank you very much. Good luck and best wishes, my love. Take care, Cordelia.
Thank you for your testimony. I do just want to say, can you state your name and address for the record?
Cordelia is spelled Cordelia, Lewis, Lewis hyphen Burks. I reside at the same address that I resided at Dr. Robinson and Dr. Charles Robinson left at 2943 North Kenwood, Kenwood Avenue, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46208.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you for
Thank you for allowing me to join you.
thank you for being here from Indiana. You're welcome to stay on.
I would like, if you don't mind.
You're more than welcome to. Thank you. And we will continue with our testimony, beginning, or second in line, Michael Moran.
Good evening, Chair Festa and members of the committee. Michael Moran. I reside at 924 Quinnipiac Avenue in the 13th Ward. It's great to be with you. Thank you for your service. And I'm here to enthusiastically support the naming of the corner Dr. Annie Garrett Robinson Way. I come to you as the city historian of New Haven and as someone who is among the students of Dr. Annie Garrett Robinson. As I think you know, our city has not only a great history, it has a great historiography, which is the fancy word for the history of history. There's lots of historians, my predecessors, Dick Hagel and Judy Csep, John Warner Barber, Ernest Saunders, Daniel Stewart, many other people late of blessed memory who've been doing history. And in our own day, we have lots and lots of historians. I'd like to think in my role as city historian, many hands make light work. Colin Kaplan and Aaron Good, Robert Greenberg, Frank Mitchell, Diane Pettaway, so many different people, many others who are in this room. I don't want to go on too long because I'll leave some off, but none stand taller than Dr. Annie Garrett Robinson. And she really is the historian's historian who allow us all to know the history of this place that we love. I want to just conclude with saying I've sort of adopted as a mantra in these times, keep the faith, do the work, support each other. And there is no one who more embodies and exemplifies keeping the faith, doing the work, and supporting each other than Dr. Annie Garrett Robinson. She literally is a woman of faith. And as Alder Streeter has noted, she has kept the faith with this city since she came. Many have come and gone. She has stayed and been a centurion of Dixwell Avenue and of this community for so many decades. She does the work. I have to say some of the earliest history I knew of this city when I moved here in 1983 came through her columns that ran for many years in the 80s and 90s in the New Haven Register. She did the work. The museum at the corner of Gough Street, the Prince Hall Mason site, she did the work. And as has been noted most recently, she did the work with Lucrece's Corner. She does the work that we know is necessary because all we have to do is look around at the portraits on the walls here and be reminded there's much more to the history than the people who are on those walls. Dr. Robinson has colored in our history in such beautiful ways. And she also supports each other. I brought with me a copy of one of her many columns because what struck me was not only the greatness of the history, but how much she thanks everybody else who's doing the work. She shares the credit and really shows the way of how we can build up community because she exemplifies it. So I enthusiastically support this, and it's so great that you are doing this. I look forward in not too distant future for the unveiling, and I think we all look 11 years from now for her 100th birthday at this summit.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you so much. Jacqueline Burr, is it?
Gracie.
Oh, great. Oh, Gracie. I see it now, now that you said it. And after Jacqueline Gracie is Rosa B. Davis. Yes, have a seat. Name and address for the record, and then you could go right into your testimony.
And it's part of My name is Jacqueline Hunley Brazy. I was born and raised in the Dixwell community. I currently live at 15 Garfield Street, Hamden, Connecticut. But I'm a Dixwell girl, and I'm here to support Dr. Ann Robinson. I'm not going to go over a lot of the things that have already been talked about and mentioned about Dr. Robinson, but I met Ann when we were both employed by the New Haven Board of Education. I worked for Project Concern, and she worked with the Dr. Coma program. And we shared an office in the basement of Strong School. We compared and discussed our lives, our expectancies as two young women, two young Black women who were community conscious and interested in what was happening. Dr. Robinson and I talked at that time. She lived in North Braintree. And we talked about Dixwell Avenue. As a three-generation New Havener, I had a lot to tell him, and especially about Dixwell. She moved to 406 Dixwell Avenue on the same block that I lived at, raised. And I lived at 374. She met my parents, and I introduced her to Dixwell. I shared with Ann, if you live in Dixwell, and this is a quote, you have everything you need. Dixwell is a neighborhood where people live and they have their own identity. When I say identity, a certain feel about our neighborhood. We not only love New Haven, but we especially love Dixwell. And we have a saying in Dixwell, and that saying is, if you live in Dixwell, you have everything you need, and you never have to leave the neighborhood. We have our schools, our grocery, and our package stores. We had our churches, we had our fraternal organizations, the Masons, the Elks, we had neighborhood clubs, and we had doctors. And if you died in Dixwell, right on the avenue, we had 2 funeral homes. So Dr. Robinson, when she came to our neighborhood, she worked relentlessly to become a Dixwell girl. And she has. And so we successfully support the naming of Argyle and Dixwell as a street to be named in her behalf, because she's done so many things. She's earned the honor of being a Dixwell girl. So now we welcome and we're honored to recognize her. And we are happy to share and to give this tribute to her. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gracie.
Rosa B. Davis, and then Prince Davis.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
My name is Pastor Rosa B. Davis. I live at 45 Westerfield Road, Camden, Connecticut. It gives me a great pleasure this evening to congratulate whoever on this board that select Dr. Robinson for this great honor. You know, there's a saying that goes out, what you make happen for others, God will make happen for you.
Amen.
And that is so true for Dr. Robinson, who has dedicated over half of her life helping others. Her lifetime, she had made a mark in history. You know, I remember Dr. Robinson, when people were leaving New Haven, going to the suburb, Dr. Robinson moved from the suburb into the city of New Haven. And there she shined. She, she and her family moved there. I met Dr. Robinson's family. I met her husband, her daughter, her grandson, and her son. And when I became a pastor, Dr. Robinson was a great help and encouragement to me. I met Dr. Robinson in prayer line. We would leave 5 a.m. in the morning. Dr. Robinson is up at a prayer line and we prayed. You know, one thing I can say, she's a great woman of God. And the Lord said, in all your ways, acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. Dr. Robinson's path, certainly, her steps were ordered by the Lord. And I want to say thank you for the board that selected this great woman of God, who, when Dr. Robinson make up her mind to do something, it is done. She doesn't stop until it's finished. I mean, once she said this, her mind is made up, that's it. You know, and I thank God for when it happened that street corner for Laprita. Now see, now her time is now. And I want to say thank you again for my dear friend, Dr. Ann Gary Robinson.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor.
And amen. So Ann Robinson. And you know what? I'll call up George Robinson as well.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Prince Davis. I live at 53 Orange Street in West Haven. And I would also like to greet the panel as well. Dr. Robinson, she's the only one of my former professors that I know by name and I call friend. So when I heard that they were going to name a corner after her, I began to think, you know, of the significance of having the honor of a corner named for you. I pondered, what are some of the qualifications? And also, the standards must be very high for such an honor. So, a little bit about my relationship with her started in the classroom. I never forget, one thing I noticed is that she was teaching us how to be aware of details. Along with the textbook and our notebook, she had us keep a journal. And in that, she wanted certain things. She wanted to record the weather. She also wanted us to count the amount of people in the room. And more than that, how many females to males. Now, I always forget that, but that was a lesson in paying attention to detail. So I carry that with me. I have, I've already swept the room. I don't remember exactly, how many of who or what. But when I think about qualifications, from my experience with her, she has many, but three that stick out in my mind. One is perseverance, as has been mentioned in her work and diligence in the naming of Lucretia's Corner in New Haven, Connecticut. Her integrity in the classroom. I mean, she was the same every day, demanding that we keep those journals up to date whenever we met. She also encouraged all the students to always be the best they could be and to always do their best. And empathy. Because of the concern she showed to her many students as a professor and as a pillar in the community where she has resided for many decades, those three are the qualities that I would give to her and that would qualify her for this. And as I think about it, she meets the qualifications for such an honor to have a corner named after her at an extremely high standard. So therefore, I am wholeheartedly in favor of the passing of the resolution to name the corner of Dixwell Avenue and Argyle Street the Dr. Ann Garrett Robinson Way. And I urge you to seriously consider the passing of this resolution. Thank you. Respect.
Thank you.
Thank
For your
you.
testimony. Okay, so we'll Ann and George Robinson, and following them will be R.J. Thomas.
Yes,
Absolutely. Yes.
Definitely.
hello, I don't know the rules, but I brought you a present. I brought each of you a bookmark.
Oh,
May I have, yes, thank you.
let's see if I can reach. How far?
Yes.
Thank you.
And if you'll notice on the bookmark is about living on Dixwell Avenue. And it tells you on the bookmark what we're like if we live on Dixwell Avenue. We're polite, we're friendly, we're interested in our neighbors, we care about each other. And one of the things that I would say to each one of you is, will you be my neighbor?
Yes.
um, my name is Ann Robinson, and I address this to the way I found it on the internet that you're supposed to say dear to the Honorable Alder. And the head of the Alder is the Honorable Taisha Walker Myers. She's the president of the board. And to the Alder Committee, and I guess this is the committee, and you have one of my favorite people, who is Alder Streeter. Now, Alder Streeter will tell you that I call him about everything. Alder Streeter, there was a loud noise down the street. I don't know where it came from, but please check that out. Alder Streeter, there's someone out there doing this or doing that, and he is so kind and responsive, always trying to help us. And I also bring greetings to everyone who's here. Particularly, I have a friend who spoke with you all the way from Indianapolis, Indiana. And that is, of course, my friend Cordelia, Miss Cordelia Lewis. Now, she didn't tell you who she is in terms of political, because she does have a political position. This young lady is the chairperson of the campaign of the mayor of the city of Indianapolis. And she's been that for 4 terms. She's also, and I'm boasting about her, she's also someone who's called Miss Cordelia. And that's Miss Cordelia by former President Barack Obama. And Miss Cordelia also is on the national board for the Democratic Party and has been for many years. So she is my good friend, my good buddy, and I thank her and thank her for speaking on my behalf. And I thank you for letting her speak. Thank you very, very much. In August of 1967, my husband Charles and I, with our young daughter Angela, moved to Connecticut from Indianapolis. Our son George was not born as yet, he was born a year later. In April of 1970, we resettled in our home on Dixwell Avenue in the Dixwell, New Hallville neighborhood. Ironically, our house is across the street from, believe it or not, Argyle Street, so that what we're talking about in terms of place and site, where there would be an Anne E. Garrett Robinson sign, is across the street from my house, where we have lived for over 50 years. We know the neighborhood. We live in the neighborhood. We are part of the neighborhood. We care about the neighborhood. And we can tell you about the history of the neighborhood. It is, as that little bookmark says, a great place to be. The people are wonderful. We were very active in the neighborhood. I was also active in the city. I'm a writer. I wrote for the New Haven Register, one of the charter members of the As I See It column, when our city needed mending, and cities do. And there was a problem with the community people and the neighborhood residents of the Register. We were called upon to write articles that were mending, that were helping, that would help people come together. And I am very happy to say I was one of the charter writers, and I think we helped because we told them good things about the people, and because we felt that we can get along. Mine was a life in progress. By progress, I mean advancement, improvement, understanding, sympathy with each other, Christian love. And with this progress came bountiful honors and awards. I retired from full-time teaching in 1999. My active life continued, however. I had co-founded a television show. We were very concerned about the disabled. The name of the show was Be Inquisitive. I was acquainted with it because my son was legally blind, and I felt that we needed to gain more understanding about the disabled. So I learned how to produce television shows. It's never too late to learn. In addition, we built a research project in which we brought to public attention the first Black woman in New Haven, circa 1638. Her name was Lucretia. She was a slave of New Haven's first governor, Theophilus Eaton. And guess what's happened with that? A corner in downtown New Haven, on the corner of Orange Street and Elm Street, is now named Lucretia's Corner. And I was blessed, and I'm humbled that the New Haven Board of Alders is considering my name in the context of the Anne E. Garrett Robinson Way on the corner of Dixwell Avenue and Argyle Street. I'm very grateful, and I'm very appreciative to all who are trying to make this happen in Ward 21, where Alder Street is the Alder. I thank the petitioners, I thank the participants, I thank you. And the naming of a street corner, in my mind, is an honor, but also we have to realize that to those to whom much is given, much is expected. And I hope that I can live up to this honor if it is bestowed upon me. Thank you very, very much. It was my pleasure being here, and God bless you all.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. And thank you for everything that you have done. I think it's an honor for us to have you in this room.
Thank you very, very
And I have your next project, if you haven't already. I think you need to write a book. No, I'm not joking.
Thank you.
That's your homework.
Yeah, that's my homework.
Thank you
I got
for,
to tell you something.
oh,
I'm 90 years old.
God bless you. God bless you. And thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
And George, do you have anything to add? I don't know, that's a tough act to follow.
Yeah. As my mother, I am proud of her. You did a good job, Mom.
Oh.
Always.
And God bless you.
Yes.
I don't know if she heard you. Do you want to repeat it? The mic is in front of you. Reach over, hang on.
Yeah.
There you go.
Mom, you did a good job, and I'm proud of you. You are a very hard worker, and God bless you.
Oh, she's coming for you. In a good way.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We have R.J. Thomas, followed by Patty Newman Foster.
To the honorable alders of the city of New Haven. My name is Ronald J. Robinson Thomas. I was born here in 2001, and I live in 682 Prospect Street on Apartment 1 in New Haven. I'm the son of retired Judge Angela Robinson, the daughter of Anne B. Garrett Robinson, which makes me her granddaughter. I'm her grandson. I'm here at this aldernatic hearing to bring you deep and heartfelt thanks on behalf of my mother, my uncle George Robinson, and myself, her grandson, for considering the naming of the corner on Argyle Street and Dixwell Avenue the Dr. Anne E. Garrett Robinson Way. I've known my grandmother, Dr. Robinson, all of my life, and from the time I was born. And I'm told that she was present on that day. I call her Grammy. I've lived with my loving grandmother, and my now deceased grandfather, Professor Charles Robinson, who I call Papa. And like Grammy drove me to school, picked me up, took me to piano lessons, carried me on vacations, and taught me to love my family, church, our community, and the city of New Haven. My grandmother, Dr. Anne E. Garrett Robinson. On behalf of myself and my mother and my uncle, again, I express gratitude to the New Haven Board of Alders, especially Alder Troy Strader, and Ward 21 for considering to name the corner of Argyle Street and Dixwell Avenue, Dr. Annie Garrett Robinson Way. Thank you. Sincerely, R.J. Thomas.
Thank you.
Thank you, R.J.
Joy Flynn. And again, after Joy Flynn is Patty Newton Foster. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd just like to say it's an honor, first of all, to be able to speak here at this meeting. And I've known Dr. Robinson for many years. Our families migrated from the same location in North Carolina. She has been a positive role model in my life. I've worked with her on some projects, and you know, she told you guys she's 90. And she's feisty. She knows what she wants, and she wants things done a particular way, and that goes to getting the job done. And she takes our history to be very important. And you know, it was a big project for her when she worked on Lucretia. She felt other information also about, what was it, the Underground Railroad Act information at the Mason Hall on Gulf Street. So, you know, she's, even though, you know, like she said, she had stopped working in the education field, she didn't stop educating. She continued to educate in every opportunity she gets, you know. I recently had the opportunity, I'm in a club, and it's a Cowboys fan club, but for Mother's Day and Father's Day, we honor mothers and fathers who have done things in the community, and we honored her for Mother's Day. And the members from my club that were with me when we went to honor her, they really enjoyed just hearing her speak of, you know, history that they didn't have information about. And there should be more people out there like her that, you know, are passing on history. And it's unfortunate that there aren't, you know, more people that, you know, do that. You know, the old grandparent that, you know, the strong grandparent that was there to mold and pass on information. We live in a different world that things have changed. And I'm grateful to be in her life and have her in my life. My grandkids love her, and she's just a wonderful person. And I'm grateful that this opportunity has presented itself. And I look forward to the day of the unveiling. Thank you very much.
And before you leave, we just need you to state your name and address for the record.
Oh, my name is Joy Flynn, and my address is 175 Mill Pond Road in Hampton, Connecticut.
Thank you. And thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Patty Newton Foster, and after Patty Newton Foster is Tamika, I can't read that. Vincent? Sorry. Good evening.
Good evening, Patty Newton Foster, 70 Stuyvesant Avenue, New Haven, Connecticut. Good evening. I'm coming here today to speak for a person that has made numerous impacts on all she has came in contact with from a historical perspective. We are honoring her legacy for the next generation here today. People will look up and read the sign and know that that sign represents a person of historical significance in New Haven, Connecticut. Here, due to you, Miss Ann Robinson, scholar, lecturer, professor, educator, community activist, we bid this legacy to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Comes Tamika and then Dr. Ed Joyner.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Tamika Vinston, and I reside at 282 Evergreen Avenue in Hamden, Connecticut. I hold Dr. Robinson very dear to my heart. I've only known her for a very short time, but in that time, she's become my mentor, my friend, and as Mr. Moran mentioned, has inspired me to do the work. I am here to support the corner naming to Dr. Annie Garrett Robinson Way. Ann Garrett Robinson was born before World War II in June 1934. She grew up in a segregated black town in Pitt County, North Carolina. She was a protected little girl who lived in a library. Born from the lineage of a group of Mays, also known as the educated Mays, her mother was a teacher, her uncle was a principal, and her aunt founded the Library for Colored Children in Greenville, North Carolina. Her grandparents, Papa Joe and Mama Mamie, who were born with slaves during the Reconstruction era, purchased a 15-acre farm during the Great Depression where they grew cotton, sweet potatoes, and pecan trees. Today, Dr. Robinson is still paying taxes to keep the land. During her high school years at CMS High School, after a spiritual experience, Ann decided she wanted to become a clinical psychologist. She followed her dreams, graduating from CMS High School, where she still is active on the Alumni Association there at the school. She married her husband Charles, with whom she later had 2 children, Angela and George. Ann received her master's degree in clinical psychology, with community service being her area of interest. In 1975, she wrote her award-winning doctoral dissertation entitled The Effects of Community Service and Learning. She earned her EDD degree in 1975 from Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. In the year 2000, Dr. Robinson's work was cited for outstanding scientific research and translated into several different languages. Dr. Robinson has dedicated her efforts towards serving her community through initiatives such as feeding the hungry, organizing programs for children, and providing assistance to the elderly. She is credited for founding the Alpha Chi Omega Fraternity for Christian Boys and sponsoring the annual cultural dinner, Thanksgiving, for foreign exchange students. In honor of her dedication to education, research, and charitable efforts, multiple awards have been established in her name. Among them are the Dr. Ann E. Garrett Robinson Education History Award from Trinity College, where she was appointed Black faculty member, Assistant Professor of Psychology. Dr. Robinson is a renowned educator and historian who is passionate about teaching and preserving history for future generations. She believes in the power of education to empower individuals and communities, and her legacy continues to inspire others to pursue excellence in the field of education and in history. In 2023, after decades of tireless research, Dr. Robinson continued to follow her passion. She and the Lucretia Corner Naming Project are credited for renaming the northeast corner of Orange Street and Elm Street Lucretia's Corner. Lucretia, New Haven's first Black recorded resident circa 1638. As Dr. Robinson reaches the age of 90, she remains dedicated to her journey of creativity and innovation. She believes that the more one does, the more one's creative abilities grow. By continuously exploring new ideas and undertaking fresh challenges, she is able to generate intellectual energy that serves to inspire her and her community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Joyner and Shirley Joyner? Good evening. Does your wife want to join you?
I don't think she does,
Okay.
but she'll join me later for dinner or something.
Did she want to speak as well?
I don't think so.
Okay.
First of all, Madam Chair and members of this committee, it's really a great honor for me to be here. And I'm not trying to influence the vote, but we're lucky to live in a city like New Haven where we have people like you making policy. And I think the measure of any community is who it honors or memorializes. And the fact that you're honoring this young lady, and when I look across the city and see where you've honored other people, and I just think that it speaks to our community, our city, at a time when a lot of our country is disunited. We're not honoring E pluribus unum. I was the many one. And we seem to care more about people that are trying to hurt us than we do about the people who are trying to help us. We honor those who have influence beyond themselves. There are many people who achieve prominence, and the only thing they're looking for is the next dollar or the next honor. But this is truly that phenomenal woman that Maya Angelou talked about. And there are many. In fact, I believe that if this country were run by women, the right women, we'd be in much better shape. And there's no offense to the men.
Amen.
The beauty of Ann Robinson is that she graduated from a Rosenwald School in Greenville, North Carolina. Charles Montgomery Epps, the same school attended by Shirley Love, who later became Shirley Love Joyner, my beloved wife. And that school was a Rosenwald school because Julian Rosenwald was a Jewish philanthropist who built over 5,000 schools in the South with Booker T. Washington. So much for anti-Semitism. We should all be pro-Semitic. His good deeds allow for the education of Ann Robinson, Ann Garrett at the time, and many other prestigious graduates of CMFs. And they may have the longest running alumni association of any of the historically Black public schools. And of course, all those acts had a ripple effect across space and time. In many cases, people like Ann Robinson can endure their own suffering more than they can endure the suffering of others. That's the hallmark of the consummate social justice activists. Because they have honor. And you're probably familiar with the quote from Shakespeare about having the honor to endure the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. As the granddaughter of slaves, Ann Robinson had to have that honor. She could not go through life feeling bitter. She could not go through life blaming others. And this is why she dedicated her life to service. It's what I would call righteous activism. There are all kinds of activism. Activism simply means energy in the pursuit of something. But in her case, it was energy in the pursuit of justice. And her efforts have watered the tree of justice in this country. We don't automatically have a country that says freedom and justice for everybody. We have to make it that way. And the arc of the universe has not been towards justice. It has to be bent by righteous people. And by the way, it was Theodore Bell Parker who said that, not Dr. King. And so I come to you tonight to request that you give her this honor, and to also say something about Troy Maceo Streeter, who could have been doing any other thing. He could be bitter about things that have happened to him, but the good that he does in this community, we cannot pay for. And I'm so proud of him for being the person that he is.
Hello.
I watched him grow. And he lived right next door, Dr. Robinson, and saw her almost every day and drew from her energy.
I'm on a Zoom meeting, so
It's about
goodbye.
you as it does about her. And I really appreciate it. I would really appreciate it. I kind of think I know you guys. At least I know 3 of you. And Caroline, I followed you in the New Haven Independent. I think you're going to do the right thing. And I think also that New Haven is a place where we're showing the entire country how we can get along, how we can get past differences, how we can get past difficulties, and how we can honor our elders and protect the future of our young people. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And Dr. Joyner, before you step away, just name and address for the record.
My name is Dr. Edward Joyner. I live at 130 Judgment Avenue in New Haven, Connecticut. I lived in Dixwell on Harley Place, and then I lived on the border of Dixwell and Newhallville on Munson Street, and now I live in Westfield.
Thank you again for being here tonight.
Thank you.
And I want to say thank you, Dr. Joyner, for the words of encouragement, and thank you for the words of wisdom and the history you just gave us. Some of it I didn't know what you just said.
I got a lot more for you.
And we have Quinn Melton up next, who, my apologies. But we didn't forget about you.
No. It's quite all right.
And just a reminder to state your name and address for the record.
Absolutely. Yes, my name is Quinn Melton. I live at 456 Dixwell Avenue, New Haven, Connecticut. Thank you for having me here today. We truly thank God for this opportunity. I want to thank Alderman Troy over here and our former Alderman Steve. We're all neighbors of the Dixwell, Newhallville area. This is a great honor for Dr. Robinson, and I think it's time so that when she looks out her window, she can see her street name and sign there across the street from where she lives. So she's a great woman of God. She's a great woman to the community of the city of New Haven. She has done great things all across the world. So I think it's just time to just honor her and give her her flowers while she's here. Thank you, and God bless you, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
And I want to say thank you, Mr. Quinn, for your assistance and your help. You and your grandkids are very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is it Jamaica Berryman? John? I'm gonna apologize for messing up any names, but it's also everyone's handwriting.
Guilty.
And then, let's see if I get this one. After Jonathan, it will be Trina Green. Get that right? Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for this. I'm Jonathan Berryman. I live at 55 Walnut Street, number 7, New Haven, Connecticut, 06511, Ward 8. I'm delighted this evening to be here in support of the naming of Argyle and Dixwell Avenue as Dr. Ann E. Garrett Robinson Way. I'm really here because New Haven is doing something right, and I'm glad about it. Dr. Robinson, I met probably in the early 2000s. I know it was the early 2000s. And I was greeted with both her feistiness and her intellect. As I had done something wrong and she was setting me straight, and I appreciate it. So as I was sitting here, it dawned on me that it is important to have symbols that remind us that it is possible to be accomplished and accessible. And as I think about Dr. Ann E. Garrett Robinson, I think about her selflessness, her always being willing to give a word of encouragement, to give an insight into a subject area, her generosity, her benevolence, her elegance, her feistiness, her intellect. There's so many adjectives that go along with Dr. Robinson. And I'm so glad to know her, so glad to know that she is not just accomplished, but she's accomplished and accessible. So I am Dr. Jonathan Q. Berryman, partially because I know Dr. Ann Garrett Robinson. It's important to have representation, people that you can talk to who inspire you to also become accomplished. So she has been living for 9 decades. I know she's here, she's present, she's alive, she's well, she has a youthfulness about her, but there's something to be said for being alive for 9 decades and for being productive for 9 decades. She was already accomplished when I was born. She was living on Dixwell Avenue before I was born. So I'm looking up to Dr. Ann E. Garrett Robinson as really as a mentor. And so I also speak from the position of being the founder of the Connecticut Black Doctoral Network, of which Dr. Ann E. Garrett Robinson is an inaugural member. The organization started in 2023. She was 88 years old at the time, because it was prior to her birthday. But on her 90th birthday this year, June 8th through 2024, she spoke to the organization and she encouraged us. She is certainly our eldest member and our elder statesperson, and it's a group of other Black people with doctorates whose purpose really is to support each other and to make way for the next generation of people who want to earn their doctorate. And we sat there with bated breath listening to her pour into us. So it's not just for what she has done, it's what she continues to do. She's still alive, she's not dead. We're honoring someone who is alive and well, and for 9 decades has been productive. So thank you for voting the way that I believe you will vote.
Thank you for your presentation.
Trina? Following Trina will be Reverend Florentine Taylor.
Good evening, my name is Trina Green. I reside at 320 Fairview Avenue in Hampton, Connecticut, but I grew up in the city of New Haven. And as I was sitting there, I condensed my speech. Everything was said about Dr. Robinson this evening, so I'm just gonna point out a few things that I personally know about her. I'm honored to be here, not as a friend, as a former student, but mostly someone she calls family and her goddaughter. Dr. Robinson not only has been a role model and a mentor to myself inside the classroom, but also outside the classroom. I can remember one particular occasion, and it was the last day of school, and me already being the honor student that I was, I said, oh, I don't need to do this last assignment. Well, to my surprise, Dr. Robinson says, oh, Trina, you didn't turn in that last assignment. I said, oh, I'm fine, I'm still gonna pass. No. If you started something, you're going to finish. So I admire her for instilling in me whatever you set out to accomplish, finish it and make sure that you achieve it. So that I can say about Dr. Robinson. I also know her to be a God-fearing woman. As I had the privilege of me and my foster children and my nieces and nephews canvassing Dixwell Avenue, getting signatures for this wonderful day. Everybody knows Dr. Robinson from every walk of life. So that should tell you what type of person that she is. That should tell you the love that she exemplifies throughout her community. And I'm going to end on this note. I pray, and I already know, that one day we'll drive by and see the sign with her name on it, so that her legacy will live on in years to come. We can drive by and remember how wonderful and how beautiful this woman of God is. And I'm going to end it by closing with a spiritual hymn. And with that being said, it says, may the work I've done speak for me. May the life I lived speak for me. And with that being said and done, the life that she has lived and all the work that she has done, that's enough to get her name on the line. And I go and take my seat. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Trina. Thank you for your help.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Florestine Terrell. I live at 100 York Street, New Haven, Connecticut. I've known Dr. Robinson for a while, since I first came to Emmanuel, and I consider Dr. Robinson a scholar. And when I say scholar, I mean one who practices what she teaches and preaches. She's also a deacon at Emmanuel Baptist Church. I believe her main academic discipline is psychology, basically define what makes us tick. Yet she has her intellectual research as well as her intellectual curiosity is easily shared and observed in her many personal and professional lectures, discussions, connections throughout her amazing life and career. Not only has she transformed students' lives as a transformational leader, I, along with many others, observe her as a servant leader. As a servant leader, Dr. Robinson displays an unselfish commitment to the growth and development of all people. She is inspirational and motivational in bringing out the best in all of us. She has a charismatic joy that's contagious. Her teachings most times invoke pleasant thoughts and responses. Yes, Dr. Robinson is both kind and compassionate. However, let me make it clear, her compassion is combined with a firm resolve of getting things done. She likes to help to improve the quality of life, and that has helped to make New Haven a better place due to her influence upon the many lives that she has touched. As I have come to know Dr. Robinson, I have recognized her strong sense of confidence and competence. In all her personal and professional endeavors, she communicates high expectations. I first met Dr. Robinson when I was a student at Yale Divinity School. On the Sunday of my introductory sermon, she hosted a dinner in recognition of that occasion. She invited members from the Emmanuel Baptist Church to this dinner. This dinner was not only in recognition and celebration of my sermon delivery, but it was also a welcome to me at the church. I'll never forget that Sunday because many of the congregants did not want me at Emmanuel just because I was a woman. They would rather run me out of town, whereas Dr. Robinson was welcoming there. As a retired professor, wife of the late Charles Robinson and a mother to Charles and Angela, her leadership continues with her most recent project, where she researched and her advocacy resulted in having the corner of Elm and Orange Streets renamed after the first known African-American resident in the city of New Haven. Tonight, I don't have time to list Dr. Robinson's many firsts which have been mentioned. However, I will recommend, as a result of her lifelong work in improving the lives of many people throughout New Haven, and I imagine the contiguous borders, that Dr. Robinson's legacy should have a permanent recognition by naming and changing the corner of Argyle Street and Dixwell Avenue to Dr. Ann E. Garrett Robinson Way. This honor is long overdue. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight.
Thank you.
For anyone who did sign up, that exhausts the list, but it does not mean we end the public portion. So if there's anyone else from the public that would like to speak on behalf of this item, please raise your hand. Come forward.
Good evening, Chair Festa and members of the City Services Environmental Policy Committee. Stephen Winter, I reside at 459 Dixwell Avenue, and since everyone's saying their ward, in the wonderful Ward 21 with Alder Streeter, everything's really been said tonight, so I just wanted to share that it's been my pleasure to know Dr. Robinson since I knocked on her door when I first ran for Alder. I'll never forget her inviting me into her wonderful home and seeing all the history she surrounds herself with. It's every wall, every surface is covered with something memorable. And yeah, just wanted to echo the sentiments about her as a neighbor, and as a friend, as a mentor, and yeah, feeling like another one of her students. I don't think it's fair to say she's retired from teaching full time. It seems like she very much is. And I wanted to suggest or clarify that we have these four corners at the intersection of Dixwell and Argyle. And one of them is actually already named St. Matthew's Church Way. That was something we did together before the Lucretius Corner naming, which was also amazing to be a part of. And so we're grateful to Dr. Robinson for her leadership there. So the next closest corner to Dr. Robinson, which would be easiest for her to see out her window, would be the southeast corner. And I think that would be altogether fitting and proper to just clarify that that of the four is the one that we would be dedicating to her. And it will be such a thrill to see that unveiled. So I can't wait for it. It's a great joy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for your help.
I just want to mention, we did have Patty Newton Foster down twice. Did you want to speak again? You're good? Okay, just want to make sure. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on this item? Is there anyone else? Okay, Alder Streeter wants to say something.
No, I want to say, I think Minister Sean Hardy needs to come up here and say something on behalf of Dr. Robinson.
Oh, I think he's calling you out.
Well, I've been summoned.
Well, come up and have a seat and state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. I'm Sean Hardy, 20 Elliott Street, New Haven, Connecticut. I was just going to sit back in the back and I was just observing. Much love to Dr. Ann Garrett Robinson. I have a personal friendship, family-ship connection with her over the years. Our connection starts from the greatest city in the world, which is Greenville, North Carolina. Don't forget. That is the best. I just left Greenville last week. We had 50th family reunion on my meal side. And so I knew I had to be here. Dr. Ann Robinson has been in my life over 50 years, and I'm not as old as Alderman Streeter, amen. So I'm glad to be a part. It was Dr. Ann Garrett Robinson that encouraged my mother in 1972 to go back to college, which was South Central Community College. At that time, the classes were held at Wilbercross High School in New Haven. It was Dr. Robinson that encouraged my mother in 1980 to further her education at the University of Bridgeport, which she did. It was Dr. Ann Garrett Robinson again to encourage my mother to carry on to Southern Connecticut State University, where my mother received her master's degree in specialized education. But she was also my professor of psychology, anthropology, and theories of personalities at Gateway South Central Community College, which she was a phenomenal instructor and mentor. Now, she was very particular about her work at South Central Community College. It was her way or no way. And in her theories of personalities, which she was the first person to bring it to South Central, it was a course taught at Yale and Southern Connecticut State University on theories of personalities, learning more about people, being able to detect where your dreams originally come from, how to get along with people, how to see people for what they are and keep it moving, okay? And so I'm just so delighted to be a part of this legacy tonight. Dr. Berryman was here before me earlier, my BFF. I'm just so delighted that she is receiving this honor because she has put her time in 9 decades. I'm trying to get there. I don't know if I'm going to get there or not, but Dr. Ann Garrett Robinson, by the grace of God, has made 90 years. Thank you, Alderman Street. We go way back. We are family. We grew up together. We sang together. We prayed together. We did it all together. And so we're saluting Dr. Robinson. May her work speak for herself. She has put her time in. She is a community activist. She's a prayer warrior. She's a mentor. She's a mother. She's a friend. She's a guide. I can say many more things would be the next year this time. And so on tonight, it is my hope, it is my prayer that you would grant Dr. Ann Garrett Robinson's way on Argyle and Dixville Avenue. May the Lord continue to bless you real good.
Thank you. Thank you. Aren't you glad you came up? And with that, is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on this item? Anyone else that would like to speak on this corner naming? And for a third time, if there's anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item, please come forward. Okay, seeing no one, we will move on to item 2, but before we do so, you are all welcome to leave. You don't have to stay here until the final vote. We do have 7 more agenda items to go through. We will have, we will vote at the very end of our meeting. Of course, you're welcome to stay and listen to our other items. But again, we will vote at the end and our office will reach out with the decision of the committee. But it doesn't stop there because we do have to do a full Board of Alder vote at our second reading, which will be in September. So the final vote will be in September for this item. Actually, all the agenda items. So I'll just give it a few seconds before we move on to the second item. And the second item is implementing overhead canopy. So if those folks want to make their way up. Good night, Dr. Robinson. Thank you for being here. Good evening. And just as a reminder, state your name and address for the record and go into your presentation.
Sure. Wayne Davis with the Town Green District, 900 Chapel Street in New Haven, 39 Beersley Parkway, Trumbull.
Hello. Is that one working? We can share it. Okay.
We can take it off.
Okay. I can make it. Okay. Tara Welchman, Town Green District. I'm at 143 Bradley Street in Haven, Connecticut.
So we are here this evening. Thank you very much for having us, Madam Chair and members of the committee. We are looking to make permanent a feature that started with our night market in the Nine Square, which is overhead Edison style lighting, zigzagging across the street. We have gotten the approval of the property owner, and we have gone through all of the engineering that is required to make sure that this is safe. We would entertain any questions that the committee has. I don't know how much of a presentation you guys would like about this particular item.
I guess where they'll be placed,
Sure.
any additional information on build of it, the installation?
So this is in partnership with Beacon Properties, which maintains all the properties in the site square. So we have approval from them as property owners as well as additional engineers that have looked over it. So these specifications are, they are approximately 22 feet above street level, so that leaves room for any fire trucks or accessibility vehicles. It spans about 56 feet across the street, the length of the street, and it's, oh, to clarify, it's Orange Street from Crown Street, or 7th Street to Crown Street, which, as you might know, is already closed for vehicle traffic as it is. We have cable limit sign-offs for cable load limits for 1,175 pounds, which will be much below that. There is a 2-foot minimum sag, so that can kind of stop any wind or snow or any environmental factors. And they're LED lighting, so it's a really nominal electrical cost that Beacon will cover. In the spec sheets, there should be specifics for the hardware, cable mountings, any.
And they're colored lights.
Yeah, they can be all of it actually. Yeah, they're remote controlled, so they're going to change the times of the lights running based on the season. If the sun's setting at 4 p.m. or 9 p.m., we can do them for like holiday lighting colors or just the general soft light bulbs.
What is this thing?
I am not an engineer, so
It's construction. Something about container size, brick, concrete, masonry, something acrylic.
Yes.
Acrylic adhesive. Oh, is that just to?
Yeah, these are all the pieces.
Yeah. And that's to maintain the integrity of the brick on the building.
Questions? I think you may have actually answered a couple of mine that I had concerns about, which is the height. We have 18-wheelers, we have trucks that sometimes go down roads they're not supposed to go down because of their height. So this will be high enough at 50, what'd you say?
22 feet. Yep.
22 feet high, and that's enough leeway for anyone, I mean, particularly our first responders to get through.
Yes.
And then you mentioned the sag, because sometimes these lights, overhead lights sometimes tend to relax after a bit. These are sturdy enough where they won't sag or easily adjustable.
Yep.
If they do.
So it's kind of this delicate balance between sagging enough where they don't sag too much, but not pulled so tight where it's pulling the buildings in. And that's what the weight load limit of the engineer said would be the perfect amount.
Okay, so with this load of 1,175 pounds, it's not going to affect the integrity of the buildings themselves. Okay, and Beacon, you said, will maintain the lights, or?
They're in control of the lights. We have a maintenance agreement where quarterly Town Green will go in and make sure the bulbs are okay, make sure there's no building damage, and just kind of quarterly check up on it. But maintaining the actual power and lights is with Beacon.
Okay, so they'll pay the lighting bill, but the city will maintain it, the town district.
Yes.
Town Green District will maintain them and fix anything. And okay, and if there's damage to the building,
We've got insurance for that particular purpose. Both Town Green and Beacon are insured for that, yes.
Okay. I mean, it's a cool idea. Kind of reminds me of Europe or even Newport with the umbrellas up above.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, I think that covers my questions. Colleagues, questions? Alder Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all so much for your presentation. I mean, to Madam Chair's point, many cities have done this before to pretty fantastic effect. Was this process that you all designed, including the potential tools informed by past precedent in other cities that have had these kinds of string lights?
That's a great question. I know Eric Davis, who is the engineer that we're collaborating with, has done this before, and so I assume it's from a previous project. I don't have the exact
And one other question, I think, am I correct in saying that the only other area in the city that has these string lights is that alleyway between Union Lake? So this would be the second sort of stretch that has these, and correct me if I'm wrong.
I think you're right.
For downtown, definitely.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And lastly, just for impact on residents in terms of the light into the windows, could you just speak to that a little bit?
Sure. So Beacon is in charge of messaging that to their tenants. They're also, part of the height is where it goes underneath, I think there's a visual on here, underneath the second story's light apartments. And there's such a dim light that it's actually less than the current lighting we have overhead. So it shouldn't impact residents.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Alder. Actually, while you're on that, will they turn off at a certain time?
Yes.
So what is the cutoff?
What we had talked about, and again, this can be clarified with Beacon, it would be at sunset, so time dependent until, I think it was midnight, they said, at the latest.
So they will be turned off, they're not gonna stay on all night?
No.
Okay.
And
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah.
They go off. at the
And
appropriate time.
there'll be a timer set, so they'll just automatically go off.
Okay, and will there be, you say midnight, but if complaints come in, is there flexibility with the time?
Yeah. I imagine it would be kind of a trial run of the lighting for the first few months and then reevaluate based off of feedback from residents. If they want it earlier or.
Okay, and I only mention that because I get complaints from a field, and sometimes the lights are really bright, and they do turn off at 10 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah, without, until the next morning, the next evening. Just food for thought. Any other questions? Questions? Anything else? All right, thank you very much.
I wish we were as beautifully as emotive as the previous.
You all are following a tough act. You really are. Anyone following that? Yeah. But you know what? I hope she made an impact and those stories impact your
It's
lives.
an honor to do. Thank you.
Good night. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on behalf of this item? Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? Again, anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item, please come forward. Seeing no one, we will move now on to item number 3. If we can have LCI or anyone representing LCI. Good evening.
Good evening.
I think we have you maybe for item 3 and 4. Okay.
Good evening, City Services and Environmental Policy Committee. My name is Mark Wilson. I'm the manager of neighborhood and commercial development for the city of New Haven. So LCI is requesting a multi-year agreement with the Connecticut Association for the Performing Arts, better known to us as the Schubert Theater. Normally we would be presenting, or we would be asking for an annual agreement, but because this is tied to the ARPA funding, we're requesting a multi-year agreement. These funds have to be encumbered before December 31st of 2024. Thus the reason for the multi-year contract. Partnering with the Schubert Theater gives us a very unique opportunity to be able to reach folks here in the city of New Haven. Our agreement with the Schubert Theater allows us to partner with them on an educational program. It also allows us to reach out to students throughout the school year, as well as through some summer programs and some camps. It's unique in the sense that the Schubert Theater is the only brick and mortar venue left in the city of New Haven that provides lobby, digital displays, digital and printed playbills, and also they'll be placing LCI's logo and messaging on all their educational materials that they provide to the city students. Also, the Schubert Theater is a sole source vendor, and it's been recognized by purchasing as such. Any questions?
So you mentioned it's for the purpose of educational programs, and we know that the Schubert already has programs in place. How will this add to that programming?
Well, we'll be partnering with them, so it's just to augment their existing programs. We won't be adding anything in addition or anything new. But this will be a venue or a way for us to reach as many students as we possibly can. And although there have been some changes in LCI's structure, their programs and initiatives have remained the same. And so the ARPA funding is designed to be able to reach people that have been adversely affected by the COVID-19, the fallout from that. And so we think that by partnering with the Schubert, we're able to reach as many families as we can with that message.
And will you also be working with YARD, Youth and Rec Department, to help with the reach out?
No, well, I think one of the main for us is their summer camps, which
The Schubert summer camps.
Schubert summer camps. And so all of that material will have LCI's logos on it, and we'll also have pamphlets and different things that we'll distribute to children to take back to their homes.
Any questions, colleagues? Alder Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for your presentation. Just to make sure I fully understand, so this is a contract specifically to promote LCI's current programs in things like digital advertisements or billboards that Schubert has, or in program booklets that they already have, having LCI's logo or having a brief blurb about a program, an existing program LCI has, to help spread the word. Is that?
That's correct.
Would you say it a different way?
No, that's exactly what it is.
Okay, helpful. And the second question is, how do we know that this program will be effective? Is there any way that we're going to track or reflect on whether or not it was able to reach people, and whether or not there was an uptick in use of our programs, for example, as a result?
Yeah, we'll continue to monitor that, and it's just questioning the folks that come in, how they heard about us would be a way for us to know how effective that program is at the Schubert. So we will try to collect data to see just how effective it has been over the 3 years.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Alder Smith. Alder Streeter?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening. I feel that it's a good thing, and it's something to keep the kids busy, because I think that there's not enough out there for them to do, and I believe if you build it, they will come. And good luck.
Thank you, Alder Streeter.
Any other questions from colleagues? I'm just going to add just one more thing. I mean, this is obviously for, well, at least in the letter, it states that it's for advertisement, to reach out to the New Haven communities for the $46,000. It's not going towards the actual program.
No.
Okay. It's going after, it's using the Schubert to help advertise the current summer programs that are in place by the Schubert.
Right, so we'll use them as our vehicle to, carry our message. Our security deposit program, the emergency elderly program. So things like that will be advertised through their playbill, through their digital displays, and also in their marketing material that they hand out to young folks.
Okay, so it's the services that LCI provides that are going to be advertised, not necessarily the youth camps.
No.
It's in addition
to that.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, because that's important to mention, that it's going to reflect everything that LCI does for our residents. Okay, perfect. Any further questions from colleagues? Okay. I think I'll go on to the next item before I ask for public comment. We'll do that at the end of item number 4. So go on with item number 4.
All right, this too is an agreement. LCI is requesting permission to enter an agreement with Barrett Outdoor Communications. Again, it's a multi-year agreement. Barrett Outdoor Communications owns a digital display on 145 Water Street, New Haven. The location is as you enter westbound into the city of New Haven on Route 34. It's a digital billboard. I believe it's roughly 1,440 digital displays a day that you would be able to make use of. That's roughly a 10-second display every minute. So it's around the 6 displays. And we have a 10-second display, every minute, which is roughly 1,400 actual displays. We think that this is a very unique and different way to be able to reach folks in New Haven. That corridor is, of course, a main corridor for folks coming into downtown. And so we think that we can reach as many people as we possibly can. The benefit of a digital display over a static display is that we can change the art and the message at any given time. So over the course of 3 years, we can use, or rather we can display every single one of LCI's programs and initiatives. So folks in the city of New Haven will be able to get a glimpse of everything that LCI does, from soup to nuts.
This is an existing billboard, digital billboard.
Yes.
Okay, it's not one that's gonna be new because we have some ordinances
Yeah, nice.
regarding, I'm sure you're well aware.
Yeah. No, so this is an existing billboard, and we would just be making use of the digital display over the next 3 years.
Okay, so it's again, advertising LCI's programs outside of the Schubert, but with this billboard.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions from colleagues? Alder Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for your presentation. LCI has billboards up currently, not digital, but
yes,
printed. Static. How effective have they been, and how do we measure success?
They have been. So we've had, folks come in that have seen the billboards, and they, that's drawn them in to inquire about some of our programs, and probably in particular, the security deposit program is a big one. And also, we're hoping, though, that it will have an effect on landlords, the residential business licensing program. We're hoping that this will be an opportunity for them to get to understand what's required for them, and also for those tenants who are living in maybe dwellings that have not been inspected, who, whose owner or whose landlord does not participate in the residential business licensing program, and it will be able to encourage them to come in and sign up.
And relatedly, I know that you mentioned that moving forward, tracking how people have heard about LCI's program is something that you hope to implement. Is that something that you already have implemented? Is that part of the questionnaire, like reflecting back in the past? Is that something that has been asked, or something you hope to institutionalize in the future?
Well, we hope to utilize it in the future. We have been, this is new to us, such an aggressive outreach and marketing program. So that's new to us. But gathering the data to show just how effective these are will be ongoing. So those are things that we plan on doing. And it'll probably be through word of mouth, or maybe we've also used social media. And so we've had likes and things like that on social media. And also we've questioned folks there as to how they've heard about us and what they know about our programs.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Alder Smith. What message, what is going to be displayed? Phone numbers? 10 seconds.
Yeah, no,
it's not a lot. And will there be different messaging every minute or however long?
Yes. So that's the beauty of the digital, that we can have different messages every minute. Some of them will be in different languages as well. So it affords us those opportunities. But you'd be surprised at how much you could take in, particularly at that billboard, because you get a lot of stagnant traffic there in the mornings and in the afternoon. So you get a probably run through there probably anywhere from 60 to say 90 seconds at that stop. So you're able to see that 1 or 2 times, the digital message.
Okay, and it will give pertinent information, the phone number.
As much as we can. So we kind of capsulized it so that it's not a huge message, but enough for you to get a phone number and a glimpse of what LCI does.
Okay. Any other questions? Alder Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one other, just out of curiosity. I'm not familiar with Barrett Outdoor Communications and how many of these billboards they have, but what's sort of the thinking behind focusing just on 145 Water Street versus perhaps choosing 2 to 3 locations or changing locations? Again, I'm not sure what locations they have currently, but just wanted to get a little bit of the thinking behind investing in one particular location over 3 years.
Well, we do have others. So it's just that this one is a multi-year agreements. So we've had some single, or annual agreements with stagnant, or static, I should say, billboards. One in particular on El Grasso and Whaley, which is a static billboard that, we found to be very, advantageous. But I think the location of this particular billboard at 145 Water Street is what drew us to, try to advertise there. And because Barrett Outdoor Communications is the sole source vendor there, they own the billboard, we had to do business with them for that particular site.
And do they own any other?
Barrett, yes.
In other locations? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Alder Smith. Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on items, what were they, 3 and 4, regarding LCI and advertising? And for a third time, is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? Please come forward. Seeing none, we will move on to item number 5, which is installation of bollards at 65 Broadway. If the makers can come forward. And as a reminder, please state your name and address for the record and before you go into your presentation. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Michael Piscatelli. I reside at 353 Senate Street in New Haven. I'm the Economic Development Administrator for the city.
My name is Noelia Cordova. I live in 127 Patton Road, North Haven. I am the store representation manager currently at the New Haven location for them.
Good evening, Madam Chair, member of the committee, Apple Real Estate Development Team, here at Czep, 1 Apple Parkway, Cupertino. I'm here representing the applicant, representing Apple.
Hi, Ginny Kozlowski with the Economic Development Corporation of New Haven, and I've been working with Apple on this initiative over the past several months. So good evening, everyone. Nice to see you.
Just wanted to thank you for your time tonight. I'll make a couple of opening remarks, then hand it over to the team from Apple. So as you know, the Apple Store is a significant...
I'm going to interrupt you 1 second. I'm sorry. Is there someone else joining us via Zoom?
Yeah, there's a couple of teammates from Apple that's also online today to help answer any questions.
Do you want to make introductions?
Sure. Zane, do you want to go first?
Sure, I'll start.
Yeah, name and address for the record just to start. Thank you.
Absolutely. My name is Zane Ward. I'm with Apple Real Estate and Development. My address is Apple 1 Parkway. Thank you.
Christy.
Hi, my name is Christy Louie. I'm a Development Services Manager within Apple Real Estate, address 1 Apple Parkway, Cupertino, California.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Piscatelli.
Yeah, and thank you, and really appreciative of the Apple team coming out today. As you know, the Apple Store on Broadway is a significant economic driver for our city. There's only about 300 Apple stores in the United States. So the significance of the foot traffic, the retail environment here in the city matters to have really great partners. This matter is before you because the Apple Store, as you know, has this elegant, nationally significant design, the windows, which also creates some safety challenges, which Apple brought to our attention. Because it's right up along the street, the improvements are within the public right-of-way. And the team from Apple brought to us a proposal. It's been thoroughly reviewed by our team in terms of insurance, the technical requirements. But they brought some presentation materials and a sample of what they're looking to do, and we would encourage your support tonight.
My turn?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we're proposing to install 12 security bollards along the frontage of our store at 65 Broadway. As Michael was saying, the bollards are within the public right of way. If you've been to a few Apple stores, which I'm hoping you have, then you'll know besides the awesome locations and architectures, our stores are typically highly transparent, and we're glass to welcome the community and our customers. Our store at 65 Broadway is no different. The entire storefront facing the street is practically glass. It's actually all glass. Creates a great experience, looks great, but not the most secure against the prospect of accidental or even intentional vehicular encroachment. So the proposed bollards add a layer of protection in front of our store, significantly enhancing the safety of our employees and customers. The proposed bollards will be sleeved in a granite sleeve to match the aesthetics of the existing bollards on Broadway already. We have worked extensively with city staff, Mr. Piscatelli's team, to make sure that the design is consistent and compatible with Broadway streetscape. In addition, the proposed bollard placements are in line with existing street trees and lights and other apparatuses that are already in the public rights of way. And their placement have been carefully vetted to ensure that they will accomplish their safety intent, as well as not impacting pedestrian activities. As Michael has also said, we have obtained support from our landlord, Yale, and from city staff, and I believe we've received a unanimous recommendation from City's Plan Commission. So with that, we are here respectfully seeking the same favorable recommendation from this committee. Thank you. Our team is available to answer any questions.
Well, thank you for your presentation. And yes, I think we are familiar with some of the challenges that Apple faces. Regarding the bollards here, if this is a true rendering, there's a tree. And is there enough room for growth if those bollards are put right on either side? Has that been considered?
Yeah, great question. It has been considered. In fact, that was one of in the very beginning of the process, one of staff's comment, and we made sure to provide enough distance in between to allow for the tree. By the way, the rendering I've shown is what the tree used to be like. Currently, there's a I think the tree was just literally planted within weeks. So it's a relatively small tree, but as presented, the bollard placement does allow for minimum standards to meet the city's requirement to ensure that the tree wall is not going to be impacted.
Okay. Does it meet ADA requirements?
Yes, it does. Between each bollard, there's at least 4 feet of clearance, and that's the minimum requirement for wheelchair clearance.
And first responders, have they been spoken to or addressed regarding, if they need to park there, or if there's someone that's injured and needs to be transported, is there enough room for all that maneuvering?
I'm not sure specifically if they were part of the process. I know we went through practically every department, but I can say with confidence that there's about 5 feet 8 inches from bollard to the curb, which is a lot of space. Like I said before, its alignment is exactly the same of your street trees and street light poles and whatnot. And from the bollard to the nearest edge of the building, we have I think it's, I want to say 12 feet, about 12 feet 8 inches clear. So there's plenty of space around for pedestrians, for public safety activities and operations.
And we brought this through to our internal site plan review team, which includes all of the relevant departments, to ensure that before we brought it to you, that they had all signed off on the proposal. There was a condition in the City Plan Commission report on ADA accessibility at the parking side, but otherwise this has been fully vetted and ready to go.
Okay, yeah. I just want to make sure that we look out for the safety of our residents and your customers, as well as anyone who is walking by there, because we definitely want to make sure everyone's taken care of properly. Who will maintain these bollards?
Yeah, we're prepared to enter into an agreement with the city, along with Yale, that Apple will be responsible to maintain.
Okay, so if any damage to them, or if they become unsightly for any reason, or I hate to even say even graffiti, Apple will be responsible for maintaining them and making them look pristine.
It is absolutely our interest to make sure that these things look great in front of our store, so you can bet that that's our top priority.
Okay, and before I ask my colleagues to address more questions, there are recommendations from the city plan that the covers must match the existing granite bollards around Broadway. Shall coordinate with city corporation council to enter into written agreements with the city, I guess with for liability, maintenance, and removal. And the Board of Alders shall work with transportation, traffic, and parking departments to designate an accessible metered parking space that meets the specifications described above. And the Department of Services for Persons with Disabilities should be consulted in this process. So, you know, when we vote on this, we will mention those items and be sure, you know, the recommendations are followed from city plan. And we do have our city plan director, Laura Brown, here if she needs to answer any further questions regarding some of these recommendations, but I think they're pretty clear cut.
Absolutely, thank you.
Any questions from colleagues?
Just wanted to acknowledge your consideration tonight. Also, Ginny Kozlowski and Steve Fontana, who worked closely with the Apple staff to get this into shape, and also the employees down at Apple. For if you go down there, you can see how busy it is and the number of people that job base it supports.
Yes, I would ask what's the best time, but I don't want to publicize it. Okay, I mean, it looks like there's a lease too. Is this?
We included in your packet, just for the board's comfort, that we have checked the lease from Yale University in terms of the requirements that flow down from Yale Properties being the landlord to Apple to ensure that there will be lease compliance and maintenance at a common area, including the public way here. And there's a bigger version of some of this in the packet, but it's late today, so.
Yeah, we did receive the full packet via email. All right. Any other questions? Anything anyone wants to add from via Zoom?
I don't think so. As long as there's no technical queries on the logistics or the type of installation we're doing, I think I'm covered. Gary did a great job. Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. Actually,
I just wanted to give a shout out to Mr. Pescatelli's team and Jeannie for their help to help us navigate the city's process, and we wouldn't have be here in front of you if it weren't for their support. So thank you so much.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Ms. Brown, Director Brown, you're good? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your presentation and for being here this evening. And you know, as I mentioned earlier in the night, we will be voting at the very end. You're welcome to stay, or you can go. The second reading for this item will be in September.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? Please come forward. And for a third time, does anyone want to testify on this item? Please come forward. Okay, seeing none. I am actually going to take a couple minute break, if you don't mind. Need a little restroom break. Great. 5 minutes? Will that work, colleagues? Yeah. Take 5 minutes? Okay, we'll go into a 5-minute recess and then continue with the agenda for this evening. Every once in a while. Oh, is that right? Yeah. That's
And it's just M Mazda, so 2 M's AZA. Yeah. And I'll send it to you, but it's on there like it's DISIUN, but when she said it, so that's the reason I'm like, I know. I'll send you.
I was there. No, I was there at the very initial day. Yeah, my presentation will be a little bit messy. No, thing about it's not just all. There you go.
Okay, we are all back. If we could continue with our agenda. Thank you for your patience. We're going to move on to item number 6, which is the Yale University Fire Protection and Water Pipe House Avenue project. If we can have the makers come forward. You're back.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Michael Piscatelli. I reside at 353 Summit Street in New Haven. I'm the Economic Development Administrator for the city. You may ask, why am I here on Hill House Avenue fire line? And the reason is because John Ward, Special Counsel for Economic Development, also handles the easements and license agreements generally for the city and sort of our property law. So this file found its way and assigned to us. In this particular instance, Yale University owns and operates a fire line, the fire service. You know, it's sort of part of the voluntary payment that they make for fire services, but they also operate fire protection systems around the campus. They are doing work on Hill House Avenue. So this is the block of Hill House between Trumbull and Sachem. The fire service line will be extended across Hill House Avenue, and I have highlighted in a very rudimentary way that highlighted area is where the fire line would go across Hill House Avenue. So as again, you heard earlier, these are checked by our site plan review, and they go to the city plan commission, make sure that is all set. But then we actually, because it's in the public right of way, we actually have to memorialize that in the form of an agreement. And John Ward in our office writes those agreements, protects the city from any liability, and also makes sure that all of the technical standards are met in terms of its installation protocol. In this particular instance, because they're going to need to close a portion of Hill House to construct it, maintenance and protection of traffic, all of that will be reviewed as well. But we have found it to be in order and consistent with our rules and regulations for this sort of installation. And so today we bring you the instrument, if you will, which is both the order and the agreement to, upon your approval, enter into with Yale for them to extend this fire line across Hill House Avenue.
So it's going to run on a diagonal, and are you able to touch on the purpose of this? I mean, is it?
Yeah, so they're doing a number of renovation projects on Hill House Avenue. This is part of the Yale capital plan. So this will serve and provide a supplemental water, water service protection. I can't give you the exact technical details, but the building, I think we used to be Yale Healthcare right at the corner there. That's one of the buildings in play, and they're going to be doing some renovation work there. And I imagine as part of that process, when they went through the building and fire code requirements, that they're bringing the extra service across.
Okay, and what is it exactly going to entail? Is it going to be ripping up the street? Is it digging? What process is there?
Similar to like you would see with the gas company. So they're going to cut the road, dig out this trench, lay the water service line in the trench, recover it, and then repave it to DPW standards.
And who's going to cover the cost of the repaving?
This is all on Yale's cost.
All on Yale's cost.
And I believe you either did or you will receive referral reports from City Plan, DPW. Yes. Was traffic that there? Did you get something from traffic?
Yes. No? Just City Plan.
Okay.
Let me see. I'll double check, but I think we have a letter from Yale and the license agreement. Oh, wait, hang on. I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm looking at the, oh no, that is the right one. Yeah, letter from Yale and license agreement, the plan, and the city plan report.
Okay, so you've got the relevant instruments.
Yes. I just want to make sure, because this is, obviously going to affect traffic. Is there going to be police overtime or anything else that would cost the city money to allow this?
This is fairly standard. So the reason why it's coming to us is because it's a private service, so it supports a private entity. But these sorts of road cuts happen all the time in the city, and it's a standard obstruction permit project.
Yeah, and I know it exists for our utilities and maintenance, and they cover the cost of, Yale is a different entity, and I want to make sure that they follow the same guidelines that other WPCA, regional water, whomever, rips up the roads that, they put them back.
Yeah, there's an obstruction permit, there's the, the restoration, and then there's also, they'll likely take out some parking meters, and that's $20 a day, I believe, on the parking meters.
Permanently or just temporarily?
No, just temporarily.
Oh, okay. Don't scare me like that, Mr. Riscotelli. Okay, obviously city plan was favorable. Any questions from colleagues? Alder Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Director Piscatelli. Just looking at the license agreement, I want to make sure I'm just reading this correctly. Is the cost of the license itself $1?
Yes, there's no cost for the license. There's no charge over time for the use of this. It's just the $1 is a point of consideration for it.
Is that typical?
Something like this is actually very atypical. We do it for, in this particular case because it's a private service. As you know, things like the UI line, which is a much more extensive easement area, we did negotiate a fee and a charge. We did not for this one, given its fire protection and it's somewhat de minimis in the grand scheme.
Perhaps you just answered that final question, or final response, but how was $1 determined? Just what's the background thinking on that?
I think that's, in the real estate trade, just a standard for a zero, a no cost transaction, just they call it $1 for almost symbolic reasons.
Maybe to rephrase, it sounds like in the past there have been some processes, it sounds like atypical, where there was a fee associated. What determined why this one didn't have a fee associated with it for the license?
So again, we treated it like a standard utility service as much as anything else, and it's fire protection in nature. So it's a life safety measure, if you will. So, and they have very few other options for this, like, sort of like the way you can see on if you look at the line, the way it's drawn, I didn't extend the yellow highlight, but it kind of runs on this diagonal. So you're sort of, stuck as to how you're actually going to bring it across House Avenue.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Alder Smith. Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time tonight.
Have a good night. Are you staying for anything else? Okay. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? Please come forward. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? For a third time, anyone from the public interested in speaking on this item, please come forward. Seeing none, we will move forward with item number 7, which is in regard to Fitzgerald and Holiday Incorporated. And we have our city plan director coming forward.
Good evening. Good evening. Laura Brown, Director of the City Plan Department. I reside at 262 West Rock Avenue, New Haven. Thank you. Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of background on this proposal. What is before you tonight is an order to authorize the City Plan Department to enter into a 2-year multi-year contract with Fitzgerald and Halliday. And as some background, this is for the Vision 2034 Comprehensive Plan, also known as the Plan of Conservation and Development, which is the city's 10-year plan. It creates a blueprint for city policymaking, decision-making for you as alders, the leaders in the community, and for staff in realms that include land use, housing, transportation, economic development, neighborhood planning. And we have initiated the process of redoing our comprehensive plan. This is required of the city every 10 years by state statute. So our last plan was adopted in 2015 and goes until 2025. So this current plan must be adopted by November 2025. And that is why in 2023, the City Plan Department issued a request for qualifications for a consultant team to assist with the plan development. This tends to be a large document that includes a lot of data and background on programs and policies and census information. It's sort of a snapshot in time of what's happening in the city, and then recommends policies for the next 10 years. So it is an extensive undertaking. We contracted with Fitzgerald Halliday Inc. in 2023. They're now ending a 1-year, their 1-year contract with the city. So we're well into the plan development, but what's before you is our request for a multi-year proposal, because we do anticipate that the plan will take another 15 months or so to complete. So through December 2025.
The total, thank you for your presentation.
Yes.
The total cost is $500,000, broken down by communications and outreach of $250 and plan development of $250. Can you speak on that a little bit? That seems, yes, high, but
It's pretty average for plan development for municipalities in terms of the overall cost, but the 250,000 for communications and outreach was really because we did want to ensure that we had a robust engagement plan, that we were engaging sort of the non-usual suspects in our land use process, that we were really reaching out to people who might not otherwise be asked for their opinion about policies in the city. So half of that was for communications and engagement, and then half is for the actual plan development, which is for the data analysis, the writing of the plan, the publication of the plan. So that's how it's split, and there are two separate contracts. So there were two separate requests for qualifications issued initially, and FHI was selected to fulfill both of those requirements, or both of those requests.
How many applicants did you have?
We had at least 3. There may have been more in our initial pool.
Okay, and out of those 3, they were the ones that
but didn't fulfill our expectations in terms of what we wanted. So we wanted a team that had worked in Connecticut, that knew the city well. They also have a sub-consultant team called Led by Us that has a lot of local connections to community organizations in the city, and they are working with our community navigator team, which is a really innovative method for engaging residents in working with the plan.
And I know this money, the 500 was bonded.
That's correct.
And was that the highest amount, or we could pay less than that as well? What are, when the RFQ, what did it entail? You said there were 3 applicants. Were they all in the same price range? We bonded for 500, but doesn't mean we have to spend 500.
That's
What
true.
was my finance committee cap?
Yes. To be honest, I'd have to look back at the request for qualifications to see if there were others that came in less. And we had let them know that that's what the range was. So that's what they could do. They scoped it based on what we were able to provide.
And I'll say, when I say finance as well, it doesn't mean that the least amount, the applicant with the least amount is always the best. But we want to make sure, that the company meets the needs that you are looking for.
Yeah, we had a number of expectations, like I said, in terms of engagement, in terms of the quality of the plan that we were expecting, and most of all, it has to meet our statutory requirements, because the plan really serves as a regulatory basis for our land use decision making in the city. So we need to ensure that it checks all the boxes for the state statutes.
And they do.
They do.
Just so it's on the record.
Yes, they have a lot of experience doing these plans.
Perfect. Any questions from colleagues? Alder Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Director Brown, for your presentation. Just a couple questions. Not that past precedent is always, the best gauge, but 7 to 10 years ago when we did this plan before, did we similarly solicit a consultant? If so, do you have a sense of how much that charge was?
I don't know how much that charge was. I know we had consultants working on several components of the plan at that time. And I know that we had a dedicated city staff person working on the plan. Likewise, we do, our Assistant Director of Comprehensive Planning, Esther Rose Weiland, is dedicated to this process and managing the various components of it. But because we wanted a really robust engagement process, she's overseeing some other staff who are working with the community in a way that we weren't able to do in the previous plan.
And then related to Chair Festa's question around kind of a breakdown of the communications and outreach and plan development.
Yep.
Does the communications and outreach line include things like, I know that you're doing some really thoughtful work around stipends for young people and high school students, stipends for the community navigators. Does that encompass those stipends, or is that coming from a separate line item?
The stipends for the students participating in the plan is provided through an EPA grant through Common Ground stipends, so that's a partnership. The stipends for community navigators, and those are a team of community residents engaged to assist with outreach. That comes from the bonded funds.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Alder Smith. Okay, so the bonded funds, as you mentioned, for the outreach also entails some city students and
The student funding is through the EPA grant, that's not
Okay,
going through the
separate from
city at
this.
all.
Okay, all right, thanks for that clarification.
Yep.
Any further questions? Okay, you're good. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on behalf of this item? Please come forward. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item for a third time? Anyone from the public would like to speak on this Vision 2035? Four? So, please come forward. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to item number 8. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Item 8 is our Director of Sustainability, Director Stephen Winter. Good evening.
Is this one?
That's right. Hello. There's something over your face this year. Director Winter comes with that seat.
Smart man.
Are you bodyguards or?
No,
We're
that's my
always
job.
gentle on it.
That's my job all day.
Do you have a presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank God. On that we won.
All right. Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the City Services Environmental Policy Committee. Stephen Winter, 459 Dixwell Avenue. I'm the city's Executive Director for Climate and Sustainability. And we can go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Linda, Townsend Mayor, and I am the Executive Director of the Greater Dwight Development Corporation.
I'm Michaela Pingeli, Assistant Director of the Greater Dwight Development Corporation. I reside at 960 Elm Street.
And I reside at 91 Shoreland Avenue, New Haven.
Thank you. I was just gonna go back
to it, huh?
Good evening, I'm Kathy Fay. I reside at 61 Springside Avenue, and I am the Director of Community Sustainability at Neighborhood Housing Services.
Good evening, I'm Serena Neil-San Giorgio, 31 Marvel Road. I am a development consultant working with those folks on this grant.
Jim Farnham, Farnham Associates, 86 Cottage Street, New Haven, and I'm the lead grant writing consultant to the department on this grant.
Thank you.
So we'll get started with a brief introduction from Linda and Michaela. Michaela.
GDDC reached out to the Office of Climate and Sustainability about 6 months ago now to work on putting together a grant for the EPA's Community Change Grant Program, which is $20 million to those nonprofits who are awarded. And a requirement of the grant is that we have to partner with either a city or another nonprofit. So for this grant, the City of New Haven Office of Climate and Sustainability is going to be the lead partner, with GDDC as the statutory partner, bringing with it our years of experience doing all of the work in New Haven. And as part of this, we've convened the Elm City Climate Collaborative, which is made up of 7 other community-based organizations, including Beulah Land Development Community Action Agency, Junta, New Hallville Community Services, Neighborhood Housing Services, and St. Luke's Development Corporation. So we are tying together a lot of the community-based organizations who are working in some of those neighborhoods that have been identified as
Environmental justice communities or disadvantaged communities in the eyes of the EPA.
And for this grant, the EPA has highlighted 5 different strategies that we should try to undertake as part of this, which is including reducing and preventing pollution, building resilience to climate change and to mitigate any current or future climate risks, enhance meaningful involvement in government processes related to environment and climate justice, expand access to high-quality jobs and economic opportunity through workforce development, and to bolster community strength by ensuring that local residents receive the benefits of the investments. And you're going to see, as we talk through a lot of the projects that we're hopeful will get funded through this grant, that each of those hits multiple of these strategies.
And this is a map of the areas of the city that are designated by the EPA as disadvantaged communities. It looks somewhat familiar to some of the maps you've seen in the past. The difference here is that in addition to these qualified census tracts, there are also census block groups that EPA has added to this based on additional criteria related to socioeconomic indicators and pollution burdens. So our goals in convening the collaborative are multifaceted, they're layered. So one piece of it is about addressing the climate crisis, both through mitigation, so reducing climate pollution, and through adaptation, what measures we can put in place to help with the stress of heat. We're all feeling that right now, of rainfall, and of resiliency to other climate-induced or exacerbated events. An example of that, or something that helps with all that, is tree planting. We also are looking to ensure clean air and water, so reducing fossil fuel use, and looking at opportunities for electrification, particularly of homes, both rehabs and new constructions, an important activity that we would like to fund through the grant, as well as reducing stormwater runoff that causes water pollution in our rivers and Long Island Sound. And then underneath all of this is building community capacity, both in decision-making process and how we address these environmental justice challenges, also strengthening the neighborhood-based organizations that are really the worker bees of a lot of the good work that's happening around housing and health and the environment in the city. And then in doing all of that, addressing core community needs about healthy housing, safe and walkable neighborhoods, and the health concerns around air quality. So our approach from the start, actually really Greater Dwight start, they reached out to us with something that's neighborhood driven, that's grounded in science and data, so using the best available information about how to cost effectively solve these problems. To build on a lot of the work that's already in place, there's a lot of great environmental work going on in our city. We were recognized recently as the first community to get a gold designation by Sustainable CT. And that's not just the work that the city government is doing, but it's the work that many, many organizations across many different areas are doing. And then also looking to engage and elevate new ideas or new things that we haven't been as focused on in the past, prioritizing those parts of the city that EPA would like us to, or instructs us to focus on for very good environmental justice reasons. And then building a process that's inclusive and equitable. So we briefly touched on this, but the city would be the lead partner, so ultimately responsible for carrying out the work related to the grant, financial management, and managing the various sub-recipient agreements. So all the money that would pass through the city to organizations working on housing, working on environmental issues. And Greater Dwight would be a statutory community-based organization partner. So they would be helping to convene regular meetings of all the organizations, both the community organizations and environmental organizations involved in carrying out the work. They would be helping in governing decision-making as the work unfolds. And they would be leading this team of community development organizations that are going to be involved in community engagement around the initiatives. And they'll also be managing the housing and workforce pieces of the program. All right. So a brief overview of the timeline. Greater Dwight reached out to us, I think actually March, but we met in April, at the beginning of April for the first time. And there was a steady accretion of community development organizations that got involved with those meetings. And we devised a open and transparent community engagement process that was centered around 2 meetings of what we came to call the Elm City Climate Collaborative. And at the first meeting, there were topic area work groups that were established to help flesh out plans for several different key topics that we'll talk about in a moment. And those work groups met regularly between the 2 meetings and then after the meetings to continue to develop the budgets and initiatives included in each subject matter area. There was outreach to the community management teams. We also connected with an EPA technical assistance provider who works with communities to help develop the grant. Looking forward, we're aiming to submit to EPA by the end of July, which is soon. It's an important date because it's a rolling grant process and you can actually get feedback from EPA and amend your proposal. So you can amend it, I think, twice. I don't think we'll get to do it twice, but hopefully once. In that way, hopefully we have a really good shot at getting this funded. And then we think that the grant activities would commence early next year and last for 3 years. All right. So now we can get into some of the substance of the proposal itself. Starting with these first 2 areas, which are really themes that cut across the actual initiative. So I'll kick it back to Nicola.
So these 2 initiatives are really based at increasing the sustainability of this project. One of the main goals of the EPA is, yes, we are giving you this money, but they want to see this work continue on beyond the 3 years of this grant. So we're really looking at how do we make sure that the community-based organizations and whatever workforce development practices we put in as a part of this grant can continue on even once the funding has stopped. And a part of that is really reaching out and building the capacity of the community-based organizations to make sure that they can do the housing work, to make sure that they have the framework in place to really engage with the communities and to direct them towards the benefits of all of this work and to how they could get funding to, in the case of home improvement programs, to get the funding to improve their homes, to increase the percentage of homeowners in the neighborhood. And we're also going to increase our workforce development by encouraging folks to apply for and learn the skills that they need to get a placement in a green skills job. And this is one of the highest growing industries within the nation and in Connecticut. So if they have access to these jobs, they'll get training within the city of New Haven and continue on to get to more of that. And then the next 2 initiatives, which will build on these 2. The first one is going to be community infrastructure and land use. And in this, there's 4 different prongs that we're trying to achieve, which is the green corridors, improving the community gardens and green spaces, increased environmental monitoring, and climate-focused zoning ordinance revision. The green corridors are increased tree planting, reducing stormwater runoff to mitigate heat islands, and we're going to align these with complete street improvements. So we're hoping for Whaley Avenue and Blashley Avenue to target those 2 areas as part of this, because those are 2 areas with minimal trees and high commute on those 2. Community gardens and green space to really create resilient communities by giving areas of each community a space where they can go to learn more about everything EPA. How do you be a more sustainable community? What are the benefits of more plantings in your neighborhood? How can you get more sustainable fruits, vegetables, And how do you improve the mulching, and even mulching and composting, that was the word. Environmental monitoring is an expansion of a program that Greater Dwight has already been doing within the Dwight neighborhood of putting in air quality monitors and better digital weather waves to really learn what's going on with the climate at a very local, neighborhood-driven level, so that this data can then inform the progress that we're making throughout the project of how we've improved individual neighborhoods and how we've improved New Haven as a whole. And the climate-focused zoning ordinance revision is to put in, change the zoning and site requirements for heat reflection, for reflective heat and tree cover. It's not really required at the moment, as I've been told. And for housing and health, we're going to do it in two prongs. One is energy upgrade to occupied homes, and that is to retrofit owner-occupied 1 to 4 unit housing with better energy resilient ideas, which hopefully means less oil heat, more solar panels, better windows, better cooling systems. And going along with these, because of changes we're making to their houses, are hopefully changes that will leverage funding from other programs to improve the homes as a whole, whether that might mean framing around the windows, new roofs, looking at their chimneys, the list goes on and on. And we're also going to add energy upgrades to affordable housing developments that are already in the pipeline within New Haven. So that is to create more passive housing benefits to the affordable housing that's already being done. And if we can invest a little bit of money into this program, then we'll be able to leverage more monies to do these programs on a larger scale. And this has the benefit of you're creating affordable housing and hopefully giving your tenants lower utility bills, which will help them have a little more money in their pocket.
I think that's an excellent summary, and would just add that we're working on projecting all of the outcomes for this, and we think that with this funding across all the planks in the proposal, it would create 150 jobs over the project period. We'd also be able to refer 140 residents to the Workforce Alliance through the workforce piece. We look to plant 400 additional trees on top of the thousands that are funded through the U.S. Forest Service grant, install over 100 stormwater structures that would capture stormwater off of the street and funnel it to trees that are in sort of hard to water locations, which would be selected in places where they can provide the most tree canopy and shade. We look to make improvements to almost 100 green spaces and community gardens, and look to help retrofits for over 65 buildings and 12 new affordable housing projects. So really trying to have a deep impact both on people's lives and also on their lived experience, whether it's in the public right of way or in their home. So moving to materials management, I could take over here. There's several really important initiatives that we're looking to grow and to launch. The first being making really important investments in expanding the capacity that our incredible local food rescue organization, Haven's Harvest, has. They've recently moved into a new space.
I didn't understand that.
Sorry, I must have said something that sounded like Siri. And
we have Apple here.
Right. And that space there's fit out in terms of refrigeration and other equipment. There's a need for a white label of the app that they use, the sort of computer engine that helps run the whole operation, to give them better reporting capabilities. There's also the biggest need, which is staffing. They're looking to follow established models from places like Boston and Pittsburgh, eventually move to a model where they can support their operations through helping businesses claim food donation tax credits and selling some food, some of it processed. You can imagine a bunch of fruits that are about to go bad that get turned into a smoothie and then sold to someone. So you're taking food that would otherwise expire and turning it into a product that can be sold at a higher value. So having a low-cost market for some of this food is a great way to help sustain these operations. So giving them additional staff to help head in that direction towards a more sustainable model to fund expanded food collection. So this really follows the EPA's food waste hierarchy of first preventing food waste. And then when food waste cannot be prevented, we're looking to compost those organics. So City Seed has recently acquired both a building and a vacant lot in Fairhaven. And that lot is large enough that it could host 2 what are called in-vessel composting units. So imagine a shipping container that you feed food scraps and leaves and other brown organic matter, and it helps pre-process that on its way to becoming compost. So it can help address concerns, particularly around pests or vermin, since it's completely enclosed. So we would use that system to process food scraps that are diverted from up to 20 public schools. And we would leverage that physical investment in an educational investment with City Seed, with Havens Harvest, and with Common Ground around food rescue, around composting, around recycling. And also one of the things we really hear from children especially is how much litter affects their quality of life and their mental health. So about this, generally the importance of caring for materials and not littering would also be part of that. So there would be a schools-based educational campaign that would extend outside of the schools around all of those issues, and also allow us to expand some of the recycling education that we've done with our part-time recycling educator. There'd be an investment in a full-time recycling educator. And then the last piece of materials management, I know it's late, I'll try to move quickly, is around repairing objects. So you might have a fan or a household item that you'd otherwise toss out. Makehaven would have workshops to help residents keep those items alive rather than going to the landfill. And so I just highlight that as one example of, if that program's happening and no one's talking about it, then those objects won't get repaired. But if we have this whole coalition of community-based environmental groups that are helping us get the word out, in addition to the city, about these opportunities, we're really going to have a lot more participation and much higher impact. On the transportation side, there are real investments in complete streets infrastructure. So we'd be looking to create a model complete street with bike infrastructure, with pedestrian signal improvements, with other improvements to help pedestrians and bicyclists get safely through the city. And we'd also be looking to harden some of the city's existing bikeways, where right now the only thing separating bicyclists from vehicular traffic is a painted buffer. So looking to put in a physical barrier there to give people, whether it's someone like me or it's a young child or an older person, the safety of knowing that there's a physical separation between them and the vehicles next to them. Then we'd also really be looking to expand education around bicycling, so that our climate emergency task force has approved some funding to bring bike education to some of the public schools. So we're looking to expand on that model and try to make sure that every 3rd grade student would have some bike education as part of their public school curriculum. There'd also be investments in expanding the bike share, which the parking authority is relaunching, to bring more stations into neighborhoods that weren't I don't know if I'd say weren't included, but didn't have additional access in the first rollout of the 30 stations that the bike share had when initially launched. And then there would be subawards to the Bradley Street Bicycle Cooperative to help them get 150 bikes repaired and given away to community members each year, as well as a voucher program to help residents purchase bicycles. I think that's, so this is a kind of a summary of the collaborating partners and all of the various pieces of the planks here. So there's a lot going on. And Crater Dwight and the city would be managing and administering all of this and then reporting on all of it. And this is a brief breakdown of the budget. We would note that we're still making changes to the budget, but we're narrowing it really closely, putting a lot of work into making sure that our assumptions are reasonable and that we're balancing a lot of really important priorities that both affect the environment and also really affect people's lives and quality of life. And yeah, I would just open up to other members of the team if there's things they want to add, but we're really trying to respect your time, but also respect the complexity here.
We're here no matter what, so if anyone wants to share any further information.
Just that it's been an experience working with the team. This is an opportunity for the city to bring a very good award in terms of doing some real collaborative building, working with organizations. A lot of these grants don't get to come from the ground up, and that's what this is doing. So it's an opportunity for us to really work with Steve and his team to come together as a city. And so we're excited about it and the work that's happening.
And some of the projected outcomes with food recovery, we'd be looking to expand capacity to recover around 2 million pounds of edible food and composting 850 tons of food waste per year, which would generate over 700 yards of compost. On transportation, we'd be looking to create at least 6 blocks of new greenway with bike lanes and installing over a mile of bike protection barriers. And we'd be looking to add about 100 bicycles and electric bicycles to the bike share program. And then I mentioned the bikes through Bradley Street and offering a couple hundred vouchers for purchase of new bicycles to residents and educating hundreds of New Haven public school students a year about bike safety and hundreds of residents in the community at large about riding bicycles and safely navigating the city.
Okay. Thank you for your thorough presentation, but I expect nothing less. You also anticipated some questions, which you included in your presentation. But of course, there's still more. So, $20 million seems like a lot of money, and this is a very aggressive project. I guess that, I'll back up a little. Is there specific use for these funds? So did the EPA with this grant say you need to use these funds for these specific needs? Or is it flexible?
It's both.
Yeah. I can say there are specific strategies. You have to have at least one climate action strategy and one pollution control strategy, and they have very specific guidance of what strategies they're looking for. So we tried to tailor each of these to what we think they would want to fund. So it's not like it's a wide open thing. It's very targeted to green infrastructure is one that is we're addressing with the stormwater improvements and tree planting and the community gardens work. Energy efficient housing is another major climate strategy. So so each of these, and there are strategies that we didn't address, like the microgrids was a strategy, but in talking it through, there was really not And the other thing is they want to be ready within 120 days to start work. So like there's no current active planning around microgrids. So we chose not to pick that as a strategy. So it really was targeted to build on our strength, what we're already doing in the areas like the whole Safe Routes for All plan you guys adopted in 2022. It's been implemented in part, but this gives it a boost to the next level. But it can show that we have a plan, and this will take us to the next level with it.
So all of this is included in the grant. Everything in this presentation, based on what you just mentioned, is it too much? Could we be denied with having too many, goals? Is it too aggressive, or are we on target? What are they looking for? Do we know? I mean, we want the grant, correct?
Yes.
We want to win this grant. And if I'm working for the EPA and I'm looking at this grant, I'm like, holy cow, it's 200 pages or whatever. Is it going to get thrown out because someone else has maybe more basic? So what is going to win us this grant?
We've been meeting regularly with the technical assistance provider that works for the EPA, but it doesn't have part in the decision-making process, and we asked exactly that question. And yes, there are some that are being submitted that just do one thing, one really big thing. But they miss out on a lot of things that are really important for this EPA grant. The collaborative process is one of the key elements. So it's a little unwieldy seeming, but actually it's been really great of the coming together. It's a lot of us got our start and our commitment to New Haven because of a process like that many years ago. And it's something that they really want to support. It doesn't sound like pollution or climate, but they really wanted to support that kind of process. We've already had, I don't know how many people, over 100 people, probably 200 people engaged in this process. And we haven't even started to work on, we haven't even received the grant yet. So we're already way ahead in that area based on what our technical assistance provider told us. And he went through all of these elements and he told us which things were kind of a good fit and which things wouldn't be. So we winnowed all those out that wouldn't be a good fit.
And the track we're playing for this track 1 implementation grant, and it is the first adjective they use is multifaceted. So I do think like there will be proposals like this that have many things going on. It's possible that there's also an interview step to this application process. It's possible that they would ask for revisions. Like we said, there's an opportunity if we get the application in before the end of the month that we would be given a chance to make revisions. It's also possible that they decide to fund pieces of the proposal. That's an option that EPA has. So they could say, look, we really want to do these things, but we're not as interested in these things. So I think there's various ways that it can go, but I think we're doing the best we can to like stick to the principles that we laid out around having something that's really community driven and really addresses solutions that community members from the community development organizations and from the environmental groups and from the general public have said, hey, we think this would be really valuable for the city to and its partners to work on.
So can they break this 20 million down to multiple recipients, or is it just one application that will get the 20 million?
There's one applicant that receives the funding. That's the lead applicant.
One thing is they're going to award 150 of these grants. And so when I first got involved, when they said they have $2 billion are in this program, 200 million for technical assistance, 1.8 billion for the grants. And when I saw it and thinking back to our history of the empowerment zone, we were one of 11. So many grants we get in federal are one of 8, one of 10, one of 11. If New Haven can't be one of 150, shame on us. Because if they're going to give 150, it's given all that we're doing in climate and all Steve's office is doing. That's my feeling, is that we have a strong chance here. And they will make the first awards next week, or this week, they told us. we'll see what happens there, who got it and what they're giving out. But this idea of getting a second shot, if we get it in now, they tell us what's wrong, we get a second shot to put it in.
And just to add, in terms of the movement, this has been, working with the technical advisor from EPA has been important to this process. And each of these sections that you see here are work that's already happening, and that just is, we're looking to build upon. The thing that is going to happen here that is not happening currently is the collaborative piece, bringing folks together to do it so that you're ensuring that each one is meeting a goal. You're following up with them. You're creating the opportunity for them to have a support system in place moving forward, not only for the 3-year of this grant, but moving forward beyond that. We're trying to build sustainability in a way that these programs that are out here doing a little bit can do a whole lot more. And so this particular strategy is, I think, one of the best that they'll see.
Let's talk a bit about the process. So the city of New Haven is applying for this grant, but it's going to be driven by Dwight.
Driven by the city.
So the city will overlook the programming. And what again was the Dwight?
So there's a requirement, there's a requirement to have at least, or to have 2 organizations that are the collaborating entities, or the statutory partner and the lead applicant. So the city would be the lead applicant. That's responsible for all the financial management, all the funds passed through the city, all the reporting back to EPA about following requirements, about how funds are used. All of that lies with the city. And then a lot of the programmatic work around workforce, around housing, will be led primarily by Greater Dwight, as will the coordination of community outreach through the CDCs. So they'll be a partner in motivating and pushing this whole agenda along with the city. They'll be the main partner.
Okay. And I guess this reflects back to where sometimes we have to make amendments to include a partner. So we've already gotten the partner.
Okay.
Okay.
The partner actually initiated it.
And there has to be a partnership agreement with the grant that specifies the roles, the 2 partners, the main partners.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to yield to my colleagues. Alder Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all so much for this really thoughtful presentation. I really just have one question that's very related to Chair Festa's question, but from a slightly different angle. I think hers was talking a little bit about the strategy of the EPA. And I'm just curious to your all's thoughts. I'm not advocating for this, but to your point about 8 strategies versus 1, 8 versus 2, I am just curious your all's thoughts about transformative level impact, because I think about, I see one of the goals under energy upgrades for occupied homes, 200 energy efficient healthy housing units, which is amazing. But imagine if it could be 3,000. 1 mile of, adding some extra protection to bike lanes. What if it could be completing the whole Safe Routes for All plan? Again, I'm not necessarily advocating for that, but I'm just curious to hear you all talk through how you will tease through 8 strategies versus doubling down on a couple and really having a certain level of transformative impact.
Well, I think one thing, and everybody else should chime in, but one thing is that in all of these strategies, there's leveraging that's going on. So just because this is all we do doesn't mean that it won't keep growing. It's just that it wouldn't keep growing with these particular funds. So leveraging is kind of the key. And some of these numbers that we have are really based on what the EPA funds will make happen, but not the overall how much will really accomplish.
I think Steve actually mentioned earlier that there will be applications that are just for one big project. And they're looking for something bigger than just one big project. So taking 20 million and doing all the streets in New Haven is probably not the kind of project that they're looking for. They have a set of select guidelines that they want you to meet, and it's expansive. I mean, it's just not one thing. You have to do more than just one. But if you can build on what's already happening so that you actually can gauge and evaluate and look at where you've started and where you can get to, you're making a bigger impact for the BEC. And so it's about doing a whole lot for a little, because 20 million is not a whole lot in the scheme of things, but it's a lot of money. So you take as much as you can and you try to hit and make a big impact. So
I think Serena said it well, but I would add that, look at the work that's been announced on Foxen, right? That's a $2.6 million complete streets improvement project. So that would be more than a tenth of the whole grant.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're trying to be strategic about slotting into places where we want to really advance the work that's not happening, that's not being funded. So we have a lot of bike lanes in the city, right? But they're only protected by plastic bollards or paint. So this is a step change in how we do bike lanes. We're going to have a lot more bike infrastructure, but will people feel that it's accessible? Will they have bikes to ride there? Will they know how to ride a bike? So looking at education and culture change. The amount we're composting in this grant, in the grand scheme of things, is actually rather small, but it would give us infrastructure to fivefold expand the amount of food scrap diversion that we're doing in schools. So again, we're seeding culture change through investments in activities that need additional resources to really get off the ground. And I think that's part of the philosophy here, is that by engaging with the community development organizations that are doing a lot of work in our communities, we can help bring those messages and those initiatives to parts of the community that maybe aren't as well represented in some of the environmental activities as we need them to be to make those culture changes possible.
And I just want to throw in one more thing is, if you look at the name of the EPA program, it is the Environmental Justice Community Change Grant. So they're really looking to see our communities changing. They're not necessarily looking for, an underpass where there was an overpass. They really want to see this kind of work, transformative work.
And I think it all brings it back to the biggest point the EPA was making, which is that they want whatever work is done by this grant to be sustainable. So even something as simple as just telling kids this is where you put your glass is not going to educate them, but telling them why you do a certain thing and having them bring that knowledge home to their parents where they can then continue on with that and maybe educate their whole block. That is going to create the larger change that we want to see as a part of this program. So it's really creating that sustainability that this will live for longer than 3 years of the grant.
Thank you all for that answer. I think that, going back to the EPA requirements and what they're looking for makes a lot of sense. And the point about infrastructure, sort of build this speed, a surge of investing in infrastructure makes sense. And relatedly, my last question, just about bicycle education, because I'm sure Joel LaChance will ask me, is part of the intent behind bicycle education also, creating the infrastructure within the schools for that to be able to sustain in perpetuity post the grant?
Yes, and I would say that it's, again, it's not a big investment. It's about getting the bikes, really, and getting containers for the bikes. And then once that's set up to the sustainability point, the amount you would need to have an instructor come in each year to go to all the classes is fairly small. I think we're confident that if we can get those bikes and those containers to store and move the bikes, that we'll be able to get community support for that. People will see the value in it. It'll create the culture change that we want, and it'll help meet a really critical need, and we'll have more people on all these bike lanes that are getting funded through, LOTSIP and East Shore or Community Greenway, Shoreline Greenway, I never know what to call it.
East Greenway.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Alder Smith. Colleagues, questions? So a couple more. I guess is this funding that we could apply towards the geotherm conversation that we had?
Yeah, it could have been. That was definitely on my mind. I think I raised it when we first met. I think the challenge there is that maybe Jim had mentioned the readiness criteria.
Timeline.
Yeah, that would be a hard one to just get immediately off the ground unless we had done some feasibility study or pre-engineering work ahead of time. But maybe that's something, that we could look at another grant opportunity. I think there are great neighborhood scale benefits for providing people with low cost, clean heating and cooling that would meet a lot of these grant criteria. We were ready to get started on it in 4 months.
There's a project that's happening at Union Station.
Well, hopefully.
Well, we applied for that, but it's also city funding that needs to be applied for it. And the thought was, can we apply this funding towards that? But because of the timeline of when you need to start, right? It doesn't apply.
It would be challenging. It would be very challenging. Yeah.
And then, actually, before I ask that question, I'm going to go where there was housing and health and, upgrades to affordable housing development or new construction in buildings. Is this going to be some kind of deal for a developer to be interested to attract developers?
The focus is more on nonprofit developers who are already doing affordable housing. And the idea is that the funding that nonprofit developers get to do their housing includes a certain amount of, let's say, windows. It gives you a certain amount of money for windows, but it doesn't really give you the quality of windows you need to create a passive apartment where you're really retaining the heat. So this grant would help meet some of that gap funding so they could do a more green building.
Okay, so this is for affordable housing, not new developers coming in?
No.
Okay.
It's for stuff in the pipeline.
Okay. It's good to get that clarification so it's clear because, you see that, for affordable housing developments and new construction and building, you want to make sure that we're clear on what the funding is supposed to be used for. So thank you for that. And then, what happens when these funds run out? I know that we have programs in place that are already somewhat sustainable, but how do, because there's so much on here, and we said 20 million seems like a lot of money, but, it easily dissipates and, what, is there a plan in place to keep, or will we base it on the reports, right? Because there's going to be data and reports. Will we say, okay, this program isn't working, let's nix that? Or, what are some of the thoughts regarding, sustaining these programs after the fact?
Well, one thing that you'll see happen is through this collaborative process, there's a lot of mutual education. So if one entity knows of funding that would really help that other program, there's communications channels opened up so we can share that information with each other to, to facilitate more of that sustainability by knowing what's out there and not just our little narrow views.
And there are programs across the state that are currently in place. One of the challenges has been that the CVOs, the CDCs, don't have the kind of access that they need to get to those funds. Doing the work, I think because of capacity, they don't have it, and they need the help to get there. So building that collaborative, as Kathy just shared, is an opportunity for them to teach each other, bring it together so that they have supports in place that will help them get to other resources. Every year, the state allocates dollars towards energy efficiency housing development, as well as the city. As you know, the programs that are run through the city are for energy efficiency are usually there's seeking additional funding to leverage. And so this is a way to do that and grow it. So there are funds out there. It's just a question of how do we make that work for the organizations that are on the ground doing the work in affordability for affordable housing here in the city.
And I'd like to say that this is also an opportunity for CBOs such as ours to work with suppliers, the vendors of these new equipment that people need in order to make their homes more sustainable.
I just got total brain fog. I had a question, I should have written it down and I forgot it. Okay, I mean, all this makes sense. There was a lot of information that was.
We tried to summarize it as best we could.
This is a summary. That was a summary?
Yeah.
This is a summary.
The original package we were gonna give you was about 16 pages.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not a whole lot.
I don't know if my colleagues have additional questions, maybe the fog will clear. But, we could always email any further questions or, thoughts that we might have. So you have asked for us to discharge this item for immediate action at our August meeting.
Correct, that's correct.
Okay, so we will take that into consideration. And, I guess if no one has any further questions and the fog is still there, you ladies can understand the brain.
Absolutely.
Then we'll wish you the best of luck with this $20 million grant. And you haven't applied for it, so you will be applying for it by the end of this month.
In 2 weeks.
Right, in 2 weeks. Okay, well, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Keep us posted and,
It's a big deal.
yeah, keep
It's
us
a really
posted.
big deal, and we're excited.
Keep us posted. Good luck.
Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you for your time. Thank you for all the
Thank you.
questions. If there are more, please just reach out, and we're really excited to be applying and hope to get a favorable vote in August.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good night and thanks for your patience. It was
really wonderful.
Oh, yeah. Take that with you. Yeah. Take that first one. It was good that it went first.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Okay, we do have, I believe, I have a speaker sign up. Kathy, you already spoke, but your name is on here, so, Kevin McCarthy.
Good evening. My name is Kevin McCarthy. I live at 171 Bradley Street. I'm going to make 3 points in less than 3 minutes. I've been on the other side of the table. I know what this is like. This is a real opportunity for the city, and the partners did a great job of putting the application together. Secondly, if the city's not already doing so, it should apply for a complimentary grant on community reconnection of neighborhoods. This is a federal grant that can be used to mitigate the environmental and social harm caused by urban expressways. We have a couple of those in town. It can be used for some of the same purposes as this grant. It can also be used for things like noise barriers, which would be something that might be of relevance to your wards in particular. Third, there are several other tools the city can use to promote sustainability that really hasn't done much to date. One is on zoning reform, which is touched upon in this grant application. There are many other opportunities within zoning, I think, that we can promote sustainability. We can also use economic development policy, and we can use tax policy. And we really haven't done much of anything in those areas, using those as tools to promote sustainability. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? No.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for those suggestions. Always appreciate it. And thank you for being here and your patience. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on this item? Mr. Housley, are you coming forward?
Yes.
Okay. Come on down.
I'll be brief. Hi, good evening. Doug Housley, 115 South Water Street, New Haven, Connecticut. Executive Director of New Haven Parking Authority, Chairman of the Board for New Haven Coalition Active Transportation. Both organizations are included in the project, and we're really excited to be participating. Expanding of the bike share program will be around, we'll be able to double the program in the first year, have 400 bikes instead of 200. With bike education and with other programs, we're also looking for NCAT to be able to teach many New Haven residents how to use the bike share program, how to use bikes in general. And it's very exciting. With a new mobility system of electric bicycles, people are a little wary, but they can be a big game changer, especially with the 10 cargo bikes that we'll be launching with. Next Thursday, July 25th at 11 a.m. will be the press event launching the bike share system. You'll hear about it soon, but here we are now, so might as well know about it. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on this item? Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? For a third time, anyone from the public like to speak on this item, please come forward. Okay, seeing no one, do I hear a motion to close the public portion?
So moved, Madam Chair. Second.
Public has been moved and seconded. Everyone in favor of closing the public portion, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, abstentions? Public comment is officially closed. Do I hear a motion to move item number 1?
Madam Chair, I move item number 1. Second.
Item has been moved and seconded. This was at the beginning of this evening. In regard to the corner naming for Dr. Ann Robinson. Any discussion?
Yes.
Alder Streeter.
Yeah, Dr. Robinson, very deserving of this. She has done so much, and I think it's a good idea to give her flowers while she's here. She can see it. She could live anywhere. She chose to stay. Just in New Haven. She chose to stay in the 21st Ward for 50 years, and I think this is a great opportunity to show her she is appreciated.
Thank you, Alder Streeter. Alder Singh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hearing all the testimony for Dr. Robinson, rejuvenate me to continue the work in my community as a alder, and this couldn't be the more better or an appropriate way for recognizing.
Thank you, Alder Singh. Alder Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I completely agree with my colleagues. I think it's something that I was struck by during the early part of this evening. It's a very special thing that we get to do as this board. And I think it was Dr. Joyner who said, I think that I'm paraphrasing, but a reflection of our community is who we choose to commemorate, memorialize, and so I just think it was a very special evening, and I'm excited to vote yes on this item. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Alder Smith. I'll just say I'm in support of this. I think this corner naming ordinance was put in place for people such as Dr. Robinson, for those that gave to the community, continue at 90 years old to give to the community. Dr. Robinson is truly deserving of this honor. And I'm also afraid that that crowd is going to come after us if we don't know. Everyone spoke positively. Everyone spoke with a lot of passion for all that she has done. And between Dr. Joyner and Michael Moran speaking, everyone really, and keeping the faith and doing the work is what was stressed with some of the speakers. And, doing the work is the hardest part. And I guess keeping the faith is too, sometimes even harder. And she emulates both of those. I mean, this woman is amazing, and I really do hope she considers writing a book, because it's something that we can all appreciate. And as a New Havener, born and raised here, I'm honored to have her as a resident of this city. And, you know, when people pass that corner naming, if the full board votes in favor of it, you know, when you Google that name, it's nothing but positive influence. And that's what I think our society needs, is those positive influences that people such as Dr. Robinson portrays. So, you know, I wrote down some quotes that people, you know, mentioned. You know, we need more people like Dr. Robinson, and not to mention her friend too.
Cecilia?
Yes,
What was it? Cecilia.
Cecilia Lewis
Burks.
Burks, and Miss Bracy.
Correct.
Right? We need more people like that for our youth to emulate, you know, and what you make by her for others, God will make better for you. I mean, these were all quotes from tonight, and I think they're all reflections of this person. And, you know, with that, I'll shut up and we could take a vote. All in favor of this corner naming, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to move item number 2?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
Item 2 has been moved and seconded, and this is for the overhead canopy lighting discussion. Any question? Any discussion from colleagues?
No, Madam Chair, I think you asked all the question along my colleague for this lighting responsibility and the dimension and for traffic, etc. You know, I think all the question was asked and it was answered appropriately to satisfaction.
Alder Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm in support of this item as well. And I think the only thing I would add is that I think this is something that we should encourage. You know, you go to different cities and they utilize this lighting to just completely transform a street, and it makes it a place, you know? And so, you know, I get excited about, you know, I think now will hopefully, you know, happen in 2 places in our city. How do we streamline that process or make it easier? Obviously, you know, thinking about all the thoughtful considerations that Madam Chair brought to the table, I think is really important. And just how do we encourage that, streamline the process, and make it easier for this asset to exist above our streets? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Alder Smith. Alder Singh.
And this lighting, you know, just give a sense of security, you know, of safety, etc. Lighting improves the visibility and people feel safer. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Singh. I too, I'm in favor of this. I think it's a cool idea, and it's going to bring even more vibrancy down that 9 square corridor, which could use as much attention as possible. So if we can make that happen, we should go for it. So all in favor of this item, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, abstentions? The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to move item number 3?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
Item 3 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? You know what, I almost wonder, well, okay, it's been moved and seconded. This is the LCI and Schubert. Alder Singh.
Madam Chair, LCI have been around for a few years now, and they're still in the infancy of the public knowing what they're doing. And this is a way of helping marketing what they're doing through the Schubert literature and etc. So like my colleague said, you know, we have to look at it, see how it works and what is the data coming in and etc. But I'm in support of this here to marketing the LCI, what they're doing for our community.
Alder Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm also in support of this item. I, you know, in line with the questions I was asking, I do think that I would love to see a level of rigor and evaluation. You know, there's some innovative or not so innovative at this point tools, like if they were to include in the brochure a QR code, that's a great way of tracking how many people utilize it. I think that would just be really valuable to see how useful they are. I really loved the gentleman who came, who talked about how, you know, through the multi-year agreement, I guess it's actually technically for the second item, but because it's digital, they could update the marketing. All the more reason why being able to have those kinds of tools to measure and pressure test efficacy, I think would be really valuable. So I'd be excited, I'm in support of this item, and I would be excited to see some of those tools and processes implemented.
Thank you, Madam. Any further discussion? I'll just add, these are also ARPA funds that are being used, and we need to use these funds by a certain date, and it's probably a good way of using some of the funds that we have left to promote LCI, especially with, some of the challenges that LCI has with some of the larger landlords. So this might be a good push for everyone. I like the idea of the QR code. I think that's something they should try and implement and allow for easier use of the whole system. So with that, let's take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to move item number 4?
So move.
Second.
Item 4 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item?
Madam
Alder
Chair,
Singh.
thank you. Again, the marketing strategy of LCI, this is in the form of an electronic billboard, and they could upgrade this as it needs to. It would be a 10 seconds flashing, and it would be something that would call the eyes of the location it is. And again, hopefully this marketing strategy would work and help to promote LCI.
You Alder Singh. Any further discussion? Okay, I think we said a lot about LCI, so let's take a vote. All in favor of item number 4, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, abstentions? The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to move number 5?
So move, Madam Chair.
Second.
Item 5 has been moved and seconded. This is regarding the Apple Store Ballard installation. Any discussion? Alder Singh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We heard the presentation, and we have a drawing of the ballards that would be placed in front of the Apple facilities in terms of more the security, but it is doing in a form of beautification also. And I'm in favor of it, recommending that they fall on the recommended compliances recommendation from city plan, and working with Corp Council, TTNP, and Department for the Disability with this project.
Thank you, Alder Singh. Any further discussion?
Yes, I would just like to add, thank you, Madam Chair, just like to add that, so it's good to upgrade and stay in compliance with different rules that come out. And I feel that that is what they're doing by the notes that we have left.
Thank you, Alder Streeter. Any further discussion? I'm just going to add that this is actually for the safety of everyone, the customers that go into the Apple Store, pedestrians that are walking on the sidewalks. It's safety for the employees. It's overall safety regarding the Apple Store and some of the challenges they face with cars going into their buildings for to steal. There's no really best way to say it. I'm going to support this. I'm going to reiterate what Alder Singh said based on the recommendations from the city plan report, which is number 1651-12. So, as long as the recommendations are followed, I'm in favor of the installation of these bollards. I think we asked the questions regarding public safety, as well as our first responders being able to access anyone who might be, injured or for whatever reason, a fire for that matter. So with that being said, all in favor of this item, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, abstentions? The ayes have it.
Madam Chair, from here.
Yes.
With the recommendation.
With the recommendations.
Thank you.
Yes. Do I hear a motion to move item number 6?
So move.
Second.
Item 6 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? And this is the pipeline for, on Hill House Avenue for Yale University. Any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Alder Singh.
this is a routine and, Mr. Piscatelli, presented to us that there work going on to the adjacent building, and this is an opportunity to do some upgrade to the pipeline for the fire and et cetera to this building. And, so again, it's a safety improvement and upgrading with the opportunity, and, I'm in favor.
Alder Singh. Alder Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm also in support of this item. It is routine. I agree with Alder Singh. I also, recognize that Director Piscatelli said that there's aspects of this that were atypical, and I find myself just leaving this meeting curious about the dollar license agreement and moving forward. What it behooves us as a city to think about that. Think about that in other upcoming processes, and this will require disruption to a city street, and I think it's worth considering whether a dollar license agreement makes sense for us moving forward. So I am in support of this item at this time, because I'm curious for this to come to the full board, but I think that's something we should pay attention to as something worthy of discussion.
Thank you, Alder Smith. I'm going to support it as well. My pet peeve is when utility companies come in, they tear up a road that has been even recently paved, and it's never the same. And it's still botched up, it's not precise, and it's just a pet peeve of mine. And yes, I know that they have to do utility work, et cetera, and sometimes it's for emergencies, but when it's not for emergencies, and it just aggravates me, because that's money that the city has spent to make our roads better, and then it gets torn up. So I really hope that Yale takes that into consideration when they repave those sections, and make it where it's not going to be to the original, but are close to it, or consider doing a good job. And I agree with Alder Smith regarding that $1. And I get it. I mean, I remember, as a kid, I bought a car for $1 for my cousin, just so we could transfer the pink slip. So this is nothing new, but we do need to consider the inconveniences that are going to happen during this, and we should revisit it. So thank you for bringing that up. With that, we can take a vote. All in favor of this item, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to move item number 7?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
Item 7 has been moved and seconded. This is regarding the comprehensive plan. Any discussion? Alder Singh.
Madam Chair, the group has been presented to us, and I wish them luck in the grant.
This is for the 2-year multi-year contract.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. You're just wanting to leave, aren't you? So we're discussing item number 7, which is for the comprehensive plan Vision 2034.
Again, Madam Chair, this is something that the city has to go through every 10 years to do, and the RFP went out, and this was the appropriate company that they choose to do the documentation, etc. for this. So it's something has to get done, or city has to meet this requirement every 10 years. So I'm in favor of this.
Okay, thank you, Alder Singh. Any further discussion? Okay, any further discussion? I'll just add that this is, $500,000 that's already been bonded for this particular project. An RFQ was completed with, I think it was mentioned that 3 applicants, and we went with the one that will best meet our needs. It's something, that the state requires. So in many ways, our hands are tied, and for me, as long as process is followed, that is the bottom line, whether it's a state statute or not. So with that being said, all in favor of this item, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, abstentions, the ayes have it. So with item number 8, it has, we will not be taking any action on this unless you all feel strongly that it should move to a second reading. So it can be, they're asking for it to be discharged out of committee and voted on at the August 5th Board of Alder meeting. Missy, do we have to vote on discharging it though? We don't, right? So, as the chair, I think this is an important grant. The application is due in 2 weeks, so we are at a time constraint, and I feel strongly that $20 million will benefit some of the programs we have in place, as well as possibly finding some new initiatives. So, we will discharge it from this committee for consideration and a vote at the August 5th Board of Alder meeting. Before we adjourn, it's getting late, I just want to make it clear, we will not meet in August. So CSEP will take a little break in August and we will reconvene in September. I just want to, give everybody a little bit of time to enjoy summer and not have to worry about one more meeting. We worked hard in this committee. I appreciate your commitment to it. We had a long night tonight, so we got a lot of things covered. So enjoy the August break from CSEP, and we'll reconvene first Thursday in September. So with that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion on adjournment? Seeing none, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it, we are adjourned.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
August break.
Oh, Troy.
Yes.
I need to talk to you.
Okay.
No, you're not being summoned to principal. Bye, thank you.